Good evening. Welcome to Awake and Aware. It is Sunday, January 10th at 8:30 p.m. I am joined here with my homeboy, good man, Damian Barnes. Remember, you got to speak up. This is podcast too.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
My man was making all kinds of crazy faces into the camera.
Gang signs and whatnot.
Exactly, right? So I don't know any of those gang signs, so I thought you were just sign languaging to me. I thought you were spelling your name for the people who didn't know who you were. All right, so on this episode on Awake and Aware, we're talking about synchronicities, patterns, and repeating numbers. So if that has any interest for you, any value for you, stick around, and we look forward to having you on the show. And I'm going to roll the intro. We'll see you in just a second. I'm up. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Awake and Aware, and it is Sunday, January 10th, 8:30, and tonight we're talking about synchronicities, patterns, and repeating numbers. I'm here with Damian Barnes. Damian is a special person because he is the first person who's been on the show 2 times.
Oh, twice in a row. Almost.
Right? You keep coming around. I might have to put your face on the intro.
That's not a bad idea.
Sorry, we love his face. Let's see. We got some people joining us. Thanks for joining us. So this is a live interactive show. A couple things. You can type into the comments. We see it on the show. We can put it up in the show notes, and people can see what you say, and we can talk about whatever you say. So if you have any interest, have any questions, if you have any questions about repeating numbers, patterns, or synchronicities, that's what the show is about. I am operating off of about 1.5 hours sleep. I feel great, but you're going to see how loopy I get tonight because when Damian and I get together, it's usually pretty funny, and he keeps me cracking. To be honest with you, he's just funny. That's all it is. He's funny sounding, funny looking.
Whoa, easy. It's just a matter of perspective,
right? Exactly. Now, listen, it's his smile, man. Like he's his laughter, his humor is infectious, and it makes me laugh, and I enjoy it. So, what's up, Art, man? It's good to see you. Good to see you too. Good to see the both of us, huh? Right. All right. Let's see what we got here. If I can bring this into the show,
my man, Art. Go. Art, you need to come on the show.
Absolutely, I agree totally. Yeah, Art's been hanging around since the early days of the show, you know, back in season 1.
Nice.
I like that I could say that back in season 1.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, for new, so we just got picked up on we're an Apple Podcast. We're on Google Podcast. We're soon to be in the Amazon store or the Amazon Podcast and pretty much everywhere else you can find us. So, we run live on Facebook, and the show is picked back up on YouTube after the show runs live. So if you guys are just joining us, or if you're on any of those podcast platform, thanks for joining us. So we got a bunch of new listeners and viewers to the show. And so I just want to take a quick second, tell you about Awake and Aware and what this community is. We are a conscious community. We're a brand for conscious community. And basically what that is when we say the definition of consciousness is to be awake and aware of one's surroundings. And so I don't just think of that as I'm awake, I'm up, right? Consciousness is around, awake and aware of one's surroundings means I think about how I affect others and how others affect me and how we play well together. And, you know, what wisdom you may have may make my life better, and what wisdom I may have may make your life better. Like for some, like we need each other, like we were meant for each other. And so that's mainly what the show is about sharing information that can help somebody through maybe a tough time, or like, think about it. When you first woke up, when you first became conscious, when you know, being awake is recognizing that there are other people in the world. Being aware is recognizing the world was not working the way you originally thought it was, you know, and that you have some role to play in that, in the fact that you affect other people. Your actions, your thoughts, your words affect other people. So doesn't necessarily mean that you have to walk around worrying about everybody, but it means you should conduct yourself in a seemly manner, I would think. So that's what we came here to do. That's what the Awake and Aware community is all about, is connecting, vibing together, helping each other raise energy, and helping each other thrive.
You know, what I really appreciate about this platform and what's going on here is that people like naturally like begin to awaken through circumstances and whatnot. And then it's like, what do we do with that? Like, how do we own that? How do we get into it? What do I do next? What do I do now? Like, well, who do I speak to about this? Like, other things are just like, you know, of course you're going to talk to the person that had your job before you had your job to find out what you do on the job. But this is different. And there's not many, there's not a lot of places where you can get this type of support, you know? And I think it's necessary. It's necessary and it's helpful.
Well, when I first woke up, somebody thrust the power of now into my face.
Huh. Nice.
And it didn't help me in one bit. So I had to read it again like a year later. But because it wasn't like, it was great. I got it, but I needed to know, what am I supposed to do in a relationship? You know, like why is it that the girlfriend that I had 2 weeks ago who loved and adored me now thinks that I'm the weirdest person in the world? Because I'm breaking old patterns.
Right.
And those new patterns that are showing up in my life are nothing like what they were like. Oh, you don't eat sugar anymore? Yeah. You don't want to watch TV with me? Like, you used to watch everything with me. Now you just want to go out all the time. Now you want to be in the middle of stuff. You're now you've got hobbies. You know, like, these are things that I didn't have before. So I create all new patterns. And a lot of my relationships just kind of fell to not necessarily fell to the wayside because we had some loyalty there, but that was what made it really painful when it came to shifting to, you know, it's like, oh, what, you don't love me anymore? It wasn't a loyalty thing. It was, my values had changed. You know, what I wanted, not only what I wanted for myself, but my immune system changed to what I would accept and to what I wouldn't allow, frequency wise, into my, and some of the people who were just around me before were just not, I hate to say not up to snuff, but just, we just we weren't in the same room anymore.
There's like a compatibility.
Exactly. And it was weird because we were hitting it off beforehand, and then something changed. And, you know, I like to say that, I was born again. I hate to say born again because it's they got to tighten it on that one.
I think somebody has that one.
That's why I use woke up. That's when I became awake and aware. That's what happened. That's why I don't use born again. That's why that's literally why I started using the term awake and aware. That's what it came from. That's where it came for me. Because I've been saying that, like, to me, this used to be my go-to catchphrase 10 years ago when waking up. Like, everybody was like, oh, you've been born again, huh? Because that's what people used to say to me, especially down in the Bible Belt in Georgia. Right. And I was like, I woke up.
Yeah.
And then, but I didn't become aware until slightly shortly after waking up.
Yeah. So it's one thing, like, you wake up and then it's, you don't know where to go to express that. And the tendency is to try and go back to sleep because it's difficult to be awake in a world amongst a bunch of people that are not, and
some people just like to try to take a nap and get stuck.
Yeah. So, but like, we don't have to do that, and so to have that support, and, you could be, and vibe with like-minded people is definitely important, So that's what breaks up those old relationships, is that we're not on the same frequency anymore, and it's okay. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset with you, but I gotta go find my tribe, man.
Absolutely, and so it's and of course, Buddha and Thich Nhat Hanh and many others like to point out that like all suffering is from attachment.
Oh yes, it is.
And so that was where the suffering came in those relationships, is we tried to hold on, and because we didn't know any better, that letting go would have been the best thing. So we tried it. Yes. Try to stay together, and it's just like, and it was like, literally got to the point where one of the first patterns that I started to notice after waking up was, we all know that I can talk. I'm not long-winded, but I can talk pretty good for a while. And especially about what I'm passionate about. If it's about spirituality, metaphysics, self-mastery, hermetics, we can just go alchemy, et cetera. So things that are just like are at my core. So but it was new to this stuff. Like I was just like, wait a minute, you mean that I can attract things to me by just thinking? Like, to me, that was like a lottery ticket. Like, I treated it like, to me, it was like, oh, you want to talk about football? I'm like, but did you know? Look at this. Watch. I'm thinking of the color purple. You're going to pull something out of your pocket that's purple. Like, I was blown up. But I was the guy you didn't want to be around waking up.
Yeah.
I mean, or you did, because I was so much fun, because I was like, everything was brand new to me. The whole world was brand new to me all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
Everything I saw had new meaning to me, or a new perspective. And it was literally like, I had a new verb for life. And so whereas I didn't, and I was a little introverted, quiet, and now all of a sudden I wasn't. I had something to talk about. I had I had no interest in any of your stuff if it was not one of those things. So I would quickly shift to what, let's talk about the stars. Let's talk about energy. Let's talk about synchronicities. But so anyway, the main thing we're going to talk about is I hear everybody is seeing 1111, right? 1111, 222, 333, 444, 555. The ominous, say, sex,
say it,
right? And 888s, things like that, right? So if you guys are out there, like, you guys can jump in. Like, what's some of the numbers that you get? What are the number patterns that you guys see, if you guys see any of them? I mean, we all see 11. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we don't all see 1111. But
I don't think we all do. And that's another thing about being aware, because it's 1111 twice a day.
Actually,
hold
on
aware?
a second. In your time zone. 24-hour time zones, it's 11:11 48 times a day. And technically, if you really want to get into
here he goes.
it's actually 11:11 somewhere on the earth all the time.
All the time.
So, but that's why it's a quantum gateway, is because it's actually there all the time. It's just moving, just like everything else. It's not in the same place all the time. Actually, better yet, it is in the same place all the time. We're just moving to either towards it or away from it.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. So I'll end up seeing things like, my number is 917, and I don't know where that came from.
My number is 1.
Yeah,
I see it everywhere.
Oh no, but I don't know.
So 917.
Yeah, I don't know what it means, but all I know is that when I see it, I get this feeling, right, and it sparks off this. There'll be an expectation that today is going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day because I saw 917 this morning.
Okay. So for you, you've added meaning to it.
Yeah.
Or did something give you meaning to it? I
have no idea.
Okay. All right.
I have no idea.
Okay.
And I attribute that to my horrible memory. So maybe there was something at 9:17 somewhere, somehow, that that started this whole thing, but I can't for the life of me remember what it was. So it's like a miracle mystery to me. Yeah. But
so if anybody out there has any insight on 917, go ahead and drop it in the comment box. That's Damian's his mystery number, right?
Mystery.
So Kat says that she sees 1111, right?
Cat
1111, 444, right? And faux. And 123. Yeah, and 123 is one that. So I actually get the 1, 2, 3, 4 sometimes. That's one that I pick up. And then look at that, just saying it right there. Like I said, see, I get it. Hey. Melanie says Luna's favorite is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Nice.
I like to say that means I'm in a line. I got all my ducks in a row. Right. So since I've been seeing number patterns for quite some time, I've assigned meanings to them.
Yeah.
But they change, and some of them aren't good. Like 911 is one that I have had. Like, so if I'm about to leave the house and I catch 911, I'm like, I'm going to wait that one extra minute.
Little emergency kind of thing,
or it's just it's a warning.
Danger.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Danger.
That's exactly. So, but maybe it's not. Maybe that's telling me like that's the best day to get the hoagie on Tuesdays.
It could be, but I think it's up to you. Really,
right? So these number patterns. So first off, is true mathematicians are going to tell you that numbers are everywhere, in every form, and they're infinite.
Right.
So every possible number combination exists around us anyway. Okay. Whether or not we're observing it or thinking of it. You're just not paying attention to the fact, like, hey, did you ever just stop to think that you got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes? There's 2, 2, 2. You're walking around with it all day long.
No way.
So it's the frequencies are there. Right. if we're, but those are, so what it is what we're observing are patterns so the first thing that humans do, now I don't know if that's the first thing, but one of the things that humans do quite well is observe patterns. So in psychology, the crazy thing is part of being schizophrenic is seeing patterns where they don't exist. Right. But part of being a genius is seeing patterns that other people don't see. So, right. So you've heard there's a fine line between genius and crazy, right? And it often doesn't have much to do with the person themselves. It really has to do whether or not people perceive them as being crazy because they don't fit into some type of norm, right, or that person's not functioning enough to take care of themselves.
Right.
Right. So like, because I mean, who thinks Dolly was sane?
Yeah, he was definitely not sane, but
everybody loved him because he
was popular.
Right. But what about Van Gogh? I mean,
yeah,
you know,
I don't think anybody liked him.
Actually, you know what? I don't know if that's true. But I know he was crazy.
Yeah,
that's what I hear.
I think everybody knew he was crazy. He probably smelled funny. I'm just saying.
Maybe it was the hole in his head.
It could be that.
I mean, he didn't even try to intrepidate himself.
No,
he just lobbed something off. So, you know, in observing, we look for patterns in everything. Mm-hmm. Some people do it better than others. Some people are perceptive, or not just perceptive, but they're receptive to observing patterns, whereas other people, their predisposition is to object to patterns, and they're much more off of what their memory is and their own experience versus what they're perceiving. So and age plays a role into it, because you can, if you know, you've been programming yourself for years not to see patterns, you eventually you don't want anything to do with that. And it's not that you can't still see them, it's just not your predisposition. I was told a story once that the Native Americans could not see the tall ships when Christopher Columbus showed up on the shores, that they couldn't see the tall ships because there was nothing in their mind that they had ever seen before that was like that. So to them, it was just practically invisible. Like they just did it because it was too absurd for them So it wasn't until they saw the people on the beach and they pointed back and said, those are our ships. And when they pulled up in rowboats, that they just couldn't even see them. Even though they were looking, because they were there for days, they just never.
It's like totally unrecognizable to like what they.
It's like a color they never saw, so they just never saw it.
Oh, wow.
So and of course, how do we know whether or not there's truth to that?
Right.
But I believe it. But
that's how they snuck up on him, basically. I got you.
Right. So Kat says lots of 9s in her birthdays and important things. Nice. I like 9s. So
she's a cat.
Right. Exactly. Hey, you got 9 lives, Cats. Maybe that's why, right? So look, that was recognizing a pattern.
Word.
Her name's Kat. You saw all the 9s in her lives. Cats have 9 lives.
Wow.
So when you say you got 9s in your lives and your name is Kat, well, that's a pattern. You recognize that there's some connection between those two things, except there's zero connection between those.
Right.
So that segs me into the other topic, which is called synchronicities. That's exactly what a synchronicity is. When you perceive that there is a pattern or something occurring at the same time that have nothing to do with each other. Kat's name and 9s in her life. So that's what clinical psychology would tell you, is that they have nothing to do with each other. Or at least old Jungian psychology, because Carl Jung is the guy who I talked about this on the show last week or the week before, that synchronicities are, we use the term incorrectly for how it was originally intended. Originally, it was meant that there was no meaning. But the way we use it in the spiritual community, or the metaphysical community, or the self-mastery community, is that it does have meaning. And those plops, or those ahas, or those exclamation points, or, an acorn, you're driving and an acorn falls out of a tree and hits your car, and you hear it right at the same moment, it makes you look up and you avoid hitting a little kid in the road. And you'd be like, oh, well, if that hadn't happened, that was such a synchronicity. Or psychology would just tell you that's a coincidence. And your mind is trying to turn that into a pattern. But after the 10,000th one, and they're being, and often being beneficial.
Yeah, so you're talking about right place, right time.
So you got a story about that?
That
Tell
kind
me
of
about
thing. I do have a story about it. I have a couple of stories, but a short one. Because when you were talking about, the acorn falling and everything like that, it reminded me of my neighbor's tree kind of just like fell apart, and I witnessed it. I was just outside for whatever reason. I have no idea. And I looked towards his house, and I saw this giant branch just fall off the tree and just bang. And I was like, what are the chances of me witnessing it actually breaking off from the tree? I've never seen that before in my entire life. I've seen, the aftermath, driven by it plenty of times, but to actually watch it come off, that was crazy. I don't know. So anybody that's a Facebook friend of mine might remember this story from, what was it? I think it was October. And I was in North Carolina. I was out there for work. And it was a weekend, so I stayed over the weekend. And I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, in this beautiful hotel room. And I woke up that morning, and it was the strangest thing. I woke up and I felt I was in the vibration of love.
Hey,
dude, I swear, it was just love all over. And I was like, and I recognized it. I'm like,
what kind of hotel was this?
Dude, hey, right? It wasn't a reoccurring thing, so I don't think it was the hotel. But so I woke up in this vibration, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. I love this. And I recognized it, which was cool, because then I got to savor it as long as it lasted. And then, afterwards I was like, okay, let me go get some coffee and maybe get something to eat or whatever. I remember that there was a Starbucks down this way. So I'm just going to I'm not going to take the car. I'm going to walk so I can see the city a little bit. So I take a walk, go to the Starbucks. Instead of walking, backtracking, say well, I'm going to go around the block, just see the city a little bit. So I have my Starbucks and I'm walking, and I found this little restaurant, cute little restaurant. Cool. Had breakfast, came back upstairs. It was just like everything seemed to be right on time, right?
Right.
So once I got back upstairs, I took a little nap. I got woken up by a rap on the door. Pop, 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 pop. Housekeeping,
Oh, I thought it was me acorns.
No. So the housekeeping came, and I was like, oh, cool. Let me go do some laundry while they're cleaning my room. Went down to go do some laundry. There's just enough time, like, doing laundry where I could, like, oh, wow, there's the gyms right there. It was, like, the first time I worked out, like, in a long time. But I spent some time in the gym, got out, put my clothes in the dryer, went upstairs, blah, blah, boom, 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 boom. Things just seemed to kind of work out. After all that, I decided I wanted to get a sandwich. Let me go back to that place that I went to for breakfast. That was a really nice place. So I go out there, and it was just weird. I'm like, what's going on here? I hear music. There's a crowd of people. There's people dancing in the street. What? How did this happen? Like, I just, like, walked into it. I'm like, oh, this is cool.
In North Carolina, not Louisiana.
Yeah, so, like, they had the street blocked off. They had, like, all these art exhibits up, and then they were having this dance routine thing going on, and, like, I watched that. I videoed it, and it was, like, super interesting. I started talking to strangers, and and then I'm like, okay, well, let me get my sandwich and get out of here. So I finally get my sandwich, and I'm like, okay, well, one more like lap around, like, so I can see the artwork, one more time, and took some pictures of that stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It's, like, just so awesome that I just walked into this. What are the chances, right? So I'm walking, I'm, like, trying to go back to my hotel, and I hear drums. I'm like, oh, okay, right? And I'm like, I look, and I see, like, this little marching band type thing, and I was like, oh, okay.
You're in a dream. You ain't woke up yet.
I'm telling you, this happened. I actually have the video of all of this stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm like, take out my phone. I start videoing these kids. They're young kids, and they're, like, marching band type thing. Boom, boom, right? I'm like, oh, this is cool, right? And then, like, while I'm focusing on them, and I'm trying to get a, like, really cool shot, right? I had no idea what was behind me. I hear, Black Lives Matter,
Oh, nice.
I was like,
callback, right? Okay.
I was like, well, say what? Right? And I turn, and I look over my shoulder, and there's a movement behind me. I'm like, how did I end up
the front of a parade, right?
Right in the very front of the parade. Like, right in the I was like, oh my God, this is great. So, I started yelling and, doing the thing, and marching and all this stuff, and it just, I don't know, so
couldn't have got there any other way if it had just timing.
Exactly. And so, like, the thing is, like, I was by myself, and, like, sometimes being on the road, it can get lonely, like, super lonely by yourself. Like, what am I going to do? I don't know, right? And so I was just like, hey, because I woke up in the atmosphere, or the frequency of love. I truly believed that this day was mine.
Yeah.
And so everywhere I went, things worked out. Like, strangers are talking to me, and blah, blah, blah. It's just, it was perfect. It was a perfect day.
Love that. That's,
yeah.
So you woke up in a high vibrational state.
Yeah.
And then started attracting other high vibrational experiences.
Yes.
Right? So, I mean, that's just one way of framing it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so then things started happening quinkly-dinkily, where you were in the right place at the right time for what you were vibing with.
Exactly. And so I was not alone that day. I'm in a whole nother city, don't know anybody, and I was not alone at all. So that was cool.
I got a tail end on that for so brief. When I was in college at Broward College in Fort Lauderdale, actually it was in Davie, Florida, Michelle Obama came and visited the campus, and Michelle Obama can draw a crowd. Like, she almost draws a bigger crowd than her husband, like, real deal.
Yeah.
And especially at colleges, like, because all the girls and women were, and tickets were, like, you had to get tickets like 6 months in advance. I didn't get tickets. I was working that day, so I didn't even think I would get off. And so my boss said, hey, I got you a ticket. You want to go? I was like, do I want to go? So we left work and like the line was really long. And of course we weren't going to cut because we were faculty at the school.
Right.
And so we actually waited. We had no kind of seats whatsoever. Like, I mean, it was standing room in a crowd. My boss was about 5'5". Well, she was short and 5'5", but I just threw a number out there. I could see, she couldn't. But anyway, it was great. We were right in the center. We watched Michelle's speech. It was poignant and it was wonderful. And so I was like, all right, I'm out. Because I'm going home. Like I wasn't going back to work. It was a different camp. It was not even the same campus that I worked at. But I did happen to live right around the corner. So I knew where to park. I parked on the baseball field where nobody else had parked. I didn't park in a parking lot. I was just like, I can do this because I live right around the corner. Right. When I came out, they kept everybody inside the building and they were exiting Michelle Obama. I'm already in the road.
Nice.
They start to stop me. She looks at me. She's like, nah, that's good. You go ahead. So they let me go. And so I got to lead Michelle Obama's motorcade. Which, nice. You know, like for me, I mean, it was, you know, it's random. But for like 6 blocks, I was driving Michelle Obama's motorcade. I was like, nice. All right, this is trust. The Secret Service, trust me, we're good. You know, so anyhow, I thought that was, wow. That was being in the right place, the right moment kind of thing.
You were almost like Secret Service that day.
Hey, man, listen,
that's awesome.
Fort Lauderdale is where they train the Secret Service.
Oh.
Just saying, just in case you didn't know. Wow. So, yeah, like a lot of people, like I have that weird vibe, like that weird clandestine vibe. So I want to take just a second. My boy Art, his birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday, bro.
Happy birthday.
Right, I'm not singing it to you. This guy can sing now.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Okay, that's enough.
All right, there we go. Exactly. That was good, man. So, right on, Art. Hope you feel special, bro. Because you are special. You're special to us. And you're a special guy, man. I'm going to have you on the show one day for sure. But listen, also in the show, I'm going to take a phone call earlier. So listen, if you guys got a good story to tell, a good synchronicity story, please, man, like spit it out there. Like, yo, I got something, put your hand or, you know, add it in the comment. I'll give you the number and call in, you know, but I don't want to hear no 45-minute story about how, you know, your green socks matched your green hat one day. Okay. Randomly.
It was that's magic.
Exactly.
They was green and these was green and everything was just so green.
And it just happened to be St. Patrick's Day. Now, if it just happened to be St. Patrick's Day, I might want to hear it. No.
Still, no.
All right. Maybe if you got tickets to the Celtics game and it was St. Patrick's Day.
Ooh.
I mean, so yeah, like if you can string it along, I'll love to hear it. So, Melanie says, "Happy birthday, Art." Right on. What's up, Melanie? What's up, Kat? What's up, Art? And well, I don't know who else. If you're in the show, joining the show, whatever, just drop in and say hi. Let us know you're here when you come in the show. Thanks for joining us. So if you're just joining us, because I see, you know, people come in and out. It's Facebook Live. We're talking about synchronicities, patterns, and repeating numbers. So I got a pretty good story since we're in story time. When I was 7 years old, I went to live with my grandmother. And I've told this story so many times to so many people, but I haven't told it on here. At least I don't think I have. Did I tell the 7-7 story?
I don't think so.
I asked my grandmother for rollerblades, and she was like, honey, we can't afford those right now, but later. So she was like, well, find out how much they are. So I did. I called this store called Apex, and they were like, yeah, they're $225. And I was like, all right, I'm not even going to tell her how much they are. And actually I did. And she was like, no, baby, we can't, that's too much. But sometime. I was like, you know what, Nan, I got you. Don't worry about this. There was a guy every day at matinee would pick up the phone and call a telephone number out of the phone book randomly. He would just drop a pin, and if it was next to your name, he would call you. And if you answered the phone and said whatever the magic words were, you know, Sunday matinee at 6, or the 12 o'clock Sunday matinee on 6, that's what it was. And if you said those words, he'd give you $600. So I was like, yeah, I got this. I'm going to pray, and this is going to happen. So when it came around that day, it was the next day, I got my aunt, my two great aunts, and one of them had multiple sclerosis. I got her up out of bed and was like, yo, you got to come see the TV. And like she had her own TV. She was watching game shows, but she didn't want to leave her game shows. And she did get up. She came in, and what's all the commotion? And my grandmother, and she was all three of them were there. And it was me. And I was like, let's watch this because I have something for you. And so this guy picks up the phone. It's that time, midday matinee, dials the number, and nothing happens. The phone does not ring. I was devastated. They laughed at, I mean, they didn't laugh at me, but they were like, it's okay, baby. You know, like, anyhow, I was not happy. I was really distraught. One, because I had absolute unwavering faith in prayer at that time. So my grandma was like, don't worry about it. I'll make you a tuna fish sandwich, and we're going to play rummy. So we sat down, we played rummy, and had a tuna fish sandwich, and I passed out on my grandmother's bed. And I had like a real hard sleep. I had a dream, and the dream was about a sunken chest of pirate doubloons. And I remember I woke up saying out loud, 77 silver dollars. Not 700. I said 77 silver dollars. So I said 777. My grandmother said, here's $2. Go to the store, play that straight in box. So I walked to the store. This was back in the day. You could play the lottery when you were only 7 years old and buy cigarettes. Probably could have came back with a 42. They'd have sold it to me if I had just told them it was for my grandmother.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So I bought, but they wouldn't sell it to me boxed because it was already boxed because I played 7. I played 4 sevens.
Right.
And sure enough, I hit that lottery. I won $7,770. So is that a sign for repeating numbers? Is that a pattern? Is that a synchronicity? Was that prayer? I don't know what to tell you that was, but guess what? The next day I had rollerblades.
I'll bet. Yeah,
I did. Nanny got all the money. Nanny got all the money, but I got rollerblades, and I was happy to make good on that made me realize that, well, maybe prayer doesn't work the way I think it does. Because everybody been telling me for a long time, don't pray for yourself. Don't pray for things, in your own life. Use prayers for others and for good. And I was like, well, what's better than my grandmother needing some money? You know what I'm saying? Like that was the prayer. That's what the prayers were about.
Rollerblades.
Well, that was just added, but ultimately, I was at the time I was truly being altruistic. I didn't have any interest if I got them or not. That would have been great, because one, I was just moved in with my grandmother, right, and I love my grandmother. It was like I was just happy to be there, bro. But I had seen rollerblades, and I was like, yo, I gotta have a pair of those. So yeah, I was the second kid on the block with rollerblades. Nice, yeah, exactly, nice. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I was a skater, just not skateboarder. Big thick thighs, trunk thighs, right?
Yeah.
So if anybody's got a good story, great. I'd love to hear it. If you've got a story about synchronicities, repeating numbers, or weird patterns, because I have all three in my life. I can just keep going on and on and on and give you guys insight. So we'll talk about I'm gonna break down what they are. From certain perspectives, not just my own. And when I say what they are, I don't mean that as factual, like, look, do your own research. And this is not to change anybody's beliefs. This is just to shed some, maybe give you new perspective on things or open some, because some of this is symbology, and you can take it for whatever it is or whatever you program yourself to believe it is. But this is not to make you say, oh, well, this is the way numbers work. Kat says, I'm sure I do, but at the end of the day, my brain is fog. The brain fog is real, right? So what's going on with all the fog? People have been talking about coming out of the fog all this week, right? I think a lot of this is residual Piscean age shift.
You think so?
The Earth is speeding up.
Okay.
So what happens when you get in a car and you floor the fucking gas? Excuse my language there. Right?
Yeah.
Your head goes backwards.
Little G-force going there.
Right. Your head goes backwards.
Yeah.
Before you come forward.
Right.
So same thing. So as we're moving into something new, we're going backwards first. So we're being pushed. We're technically, our heads are kind of stuck in the back end of 2020 in the Piscean age.
Is 2020 over? Is it?
Listen,
is it though? Is it?
Listen, somebody told me the other day that today is 12 39.
I think it is. I think it is.
Actually, today is 12:40.
Yeah,
12:40, 20.
Jeez.
Right? It's scary. So look at the time. It's 9:09. There's some nines again.
Dude, what?
Right? So
Cat,
first off,
did that.
numbers themselves are patterns. That's what a number. So
Right.
all numbers, there's only one. Okay, guys, let's just talk about this real quick. Let's talk about numbers. Since today's the 10th, there is actually only one number. One. That's it. That's the only number. The rest of them are placeholders for the number one. Meaning 2 just means there's 2 number ones. It's that simple.
Bro.
3 means there's 3 number ones. So all other numbers are just placeholders for number one. Right. And then the other is there's no number at all, which is 0. So that's why computers use ones and zeros, binary, is because they can count ones, infinite number ones. They don't need to use 2s, 3s, 9s, et cetera, et cetera. They only know it's called a dipset. It's either on or it's off.
Dipset.
Yeah.
Dipset. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right on. So,
I was just thinking about this, like with science. The whole point of science is recognizing patterns. I love that. Yeah, so it's like recognizing patterns. It's not you can't prove something until you can like reproduce it over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's so right. But see, so the funny thing is we're technically never reproducing it. Like it never gives us the same results.
Well, yeah, that's like stepping into the
sun's never in the
river.
same place that it was.
Yeah, you can't step into the same river twice because the second time it's a different river.
So my chemistry professor in college, Dr. Fox from Harvard, said all science comes down to a significant figure. Anybody that tells you any different than that is a quack. So if anybody you in biology, if anybody tells you there's an absolute in science, they're a quack. That's what he told. That's the very first lesson he gave us on the first day.
That's how I feel about spirituality.
Oh yeah,
well.
absolutes.
Anybody that is absolutely, they know that their thing is the thing.
This is
and
the
only
truth.
thing, the way, and the only way. Oh, that's scary because like you really don't know. You don't. You're just saying what somebody else told you. So.
I think the most unspiritual thing a person can say is "I know."
What if they're like, "I know that's right"? How about that? Is that okay?
That might get a pass.
I know that's right, baby.
Right, I was gonna say if you suck your teeth, she definitely gets a pass, or he gets a pass for sure.
Yeah, patch your weave.
Exactly, pat your weave down.
Patch weave, girl.
Talking about a weave, that's a real pattern right there.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Just saying,
dude. No, for real though. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was on Facebook, and there was like these similarities between like the patterns of like the way your hair grows, and that spiral thing that keeps showing up in.
They call it the golden ratio. So I got to debunk that one though,
bro. Don't.
Got to.
Don't do it.
Got to.
Oh my God, I love that thing.
So the golden ratio was disproved back in the 90s, actually.
By who?
By the guy who solved the equation for the gold. So basically, the reason why the golden ratio was called what's called a transcendental number originally was because it thought it could not be plugged into a quadratic equation. So for all you guys out there who care nothing about math, I'll break it down. There's this equation that whole numbers can plug into.
Oh, okay.
And so that basically, so when a number can't plug into, you can't solve it. It's a transcendental number. There's only 2 numbers known in existence that don't plug into it: pi, and the other one's called natural logarithmic e, or natural e. And those 2 numbers, pi is 3.14, goes on for infinity, right? And then the other is 2.718282 that goes on for infinity. And people thought that the golden ratio for many years was actually a transcendental number, that it was a number that went on for infinity as well. And it wasn't until computers became strong enough to actually recognize that it's actually got like 36 million characters, and then it stops.
So somebody finally found the end of
the golden ratio.
The golden ratio.
So which means all the repeating spiraling patterns that exist in nature don't actually match up to what everybody said it was. So unfortunately, all those myths about the seashell, listen, they're absolutely close. Don't get it twisted.
Look, it doesn't matter. It's magic to me. And
The Nautilus shell,
it.
yeah,
I
I
love
love
it.
it. I get it. I get it. So the goal, so they don't call it. So golden ratio is actually phi in mathematics. It's not phi. It's phi because it's the baby. It's the little one.
Oh.
Yeah, they even downgraded it. It's lame. Yeah, wow. Exactly.
Well, they're always kind of doing stuff like that. Like with Pluto. Pluto was a planet, not a planet. It's like
Pluto's technically a planet. It's just not our planet.
It's
Pluto
might not be your planet, but Pluto will always be.
It's a planet.
My planet.
It's just they believe it's so far out there that it's actually
somebody
not.
Else's
they don't
planet.
believe it's orbiting the Earth. They believe it's or not orbiting our sun. They believe it's just free floating where it's at and it's on its own orbit, but it's not the sun, and that's why to this day I don't believe Pluto's considered part of our. They may consider it a planet, but it's not part of our solar system. So. Yeah, I like Pluto, man. Like I always thought Pluto was like the coolest planet. Like you're way out there by yourself.
Yeah, doing whatever you want. Nobody knows. Nobody can see.
I'll never do that again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was good.
No, Pluto's cool, man. And actually, so I've seen pictures of Pluto like recently, and I actually posted one in a chat room earlier, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, it's got water on it." Shit ain't got no water on it. It's just the colors. But it looks like a really cool planet.
Yeah,
it's freezing cold though.
Freezing.
Also,
looks
Pluto's
like
so far out there, and gravity is so low. Like if you sneezed, you'd never come back.
Wow.
Yeah, you could jump off Pluto, and jump to another planet.
Yeah, I'm out. Boom.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, think about that. You could jump off of Pluto, and then bump into another planet.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
space is
of course
a crazy
dead
thing.
by then, but
how you know?
Because I watch plenty of movies. Speaking of,
right? Don't bring up the Matrix.
Oh,
I mean, we'll break everybody's mind if we do that.
I know. I love it though.
I love when the cat glitched.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite parts was the cat glitching.
It's like, did you see that? You know?
you know what really bothers me about the Matrix is they tried to make it like it was so, because listen, when I first saw it, it was really deep. But like when I watch it now, I'm like, that's not that good.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, the fighting mechanics were great. The cinematography was wonderful.
Deep for me at that time.
That's what I'm saying. Is at that time
where I was, like nobody else was like getting into.
What was the best part, Kat? You got to be more specific. What was the best part? Which one? The cat, the shooting.
It was the cat. It was definitely the cat.
I like the rabbit reference early on with the girl who showed up. Like that tripped me out. Like I've watched that movie looking for patterns. Looking for patterns in the credits. I found some patterns. You ever watch the videos of glitches in Matrix? No, I can't say that I have. Drop some links. Oh, the cat, duh. Yeah, gotcha.
Told you.
Yeah, well, cat. Hello. What's? Come on now, really?
Yeah.
But see, you have gravity, Cat, and we've mentioned the word a few times. So you're pulling on us now. You're pulling on our psyche. You're pulling on my show. No, I'm kidding. It's a wonderful thing, man. Like everything has gravity. Information has gravity. So writing a number down has gravity. This is why when we talk about manifest, if you write it down, it's constantly attracting to itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it has a presence now.
Yes.
There's a presence. So it holds a space.
Yes. So all things have information.
Right.
If anything, it has the information of proximity to what it's near. Like, because we all say, I'm that guy that's sitting next to you, or you're that guy sitting next to me. Like, we all have to find some type of proximity most of the time to describe stuff. Because if you said, I'm here now.
So am I.
Right. But then 12 hours from now, we're not sitting here.
Well, yeah.
So then we're only here so it's only true for a period of time.
No, it's always true. I'm always here now.
You're here now, 12 hours from now.
I'm always here now.
You are
here.
That is true. You are be here now.
Now.
Just now.
Right now.
Meow.
Right. Meow. There goes the cat reference.
My mother loves to point out she's my mom. I love that. I love it. So mom said, Nick's mom here says, when Nick was 5, a grind of mine who was having a hard time having a baby said, I know if Nick prays for me, I will get pregnant. Nick prayed and she conceived. A friend. Gotcha. I was going to correct that. I knew it. But I didn't know what you were saying, so I wasn't going to assume, Mom. Yeah. So I've been in that state where I've got these magic hands, man. Like my listen, I pray for people and stuff happens. I don't, it's not me. It's just being heard. So, I mean, I don't want to play. My last name is Angel, so maybe there's something there. Maybe there's not. I'm not trying to be hokey about it, but. And you ain't even know that was there.
Wow, that was perfect.
Bro, like, was that a great synchronicity or what?
Yeah, that was
because
perfect.
I didn't even know that was.
No, I had no idea.
I've never heard that sound before.
I thought I was hitting something else, but yeah, that was cool. It was perfect.
Right on. So, anyhow, so like, I'm blessed. I am truly, truly blessed. I could just go on and on about the things that I've experienced that were otherworldly, or the opportunity to be of assistance to somebody else. And I think that anybody can do that. It's not because my name is Angel. It's because when you have a willingness, and once you step past the fear or the doubt that you can, or are you the right person, like most of life is just showing up.
So I had this conversation with a fella about this frequency, and we were talking about it like radio waves and whatnot. So like right now there are radio waves all around us, and like we can't hear them because we're not tuned into them. So there's like a God frequency. There's the awakened frequency. There's a frequency of coincidence and all that. So it's like once you are tuned into that, that's what you will start to receive. You'll start pulling that in, and you'll be able to see this stuff and be able to react and react with it. And
so then you can see the tall ship. You're now the Native American seeing the tall ships. Because it wasn't in their frequency. They had nothing tall in their reality other than mountains, which were trees, natural things. They'd never seen anything man-made bigger than a teepee.
Right. Totem pole.
Not these Indians. They didn't do totems.
They didn't.
Or maybe they did. I just said that.
I don't even know. He's just like, nah.
For all we know, they had tall ships themselves.
They probably didn't have tall ships.
Listen, I have seen where the white man came over to America in 700. So people telling you that it happened in the 1492, and it's ridiculous. Trust me, there were Caucasians in Newport, Rhode Island in 700 A.D.
Well, there's
still proof standing.
There was, of course, you can find anything on the internet, but
no, I've seen it in person. Just saying.
You were there.
I've seen it. Yeah, there's a tower in Newport near the breakers. In a field, yeah, no, absolutely. It's like there's carvings that are not they're European, they're Viking carvings. They're Celtic runes in a tower that has been dated back to 700 A.D.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, like our history is written by whomever wrote it,
right?
And it's up to them.
Exactly.
So, and like everybody wants to be the hero, so it was our people that put all this together, That nobody else was here before us.
Well, they didn't colonize then.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down
they
to.
Just hung out
they didn't leave it. Well, they didn't really leave any history. There's just that tower. That's all there is to it. There's no people. There's no civilization. So a lot of times, people are like, oh, well, the carbon dating must be wrong.
Well, no, there was talks about Africans too, like coming out this way.
I believe. Well. Oh, yeah,
like
I believe
before. So, who knows? Because like if you look at like old Aztec and everything like that, there's same features, like their statues, same features that you'll see.
Very close to the Egyptians. Hieroglyph.
Right.
Plus, they both built pyramids.
Pyramids, bro.
Right.
Pyramids.
Yep.
Come on.
Art says. Oh, so Art said Leif Erikson. Well, let's back up for just a second. Kat Gannon said white noise. I believe she's talking about the Schumann resonance. When we were talking about frequency that you can hear, I believe it's 528 hertz. No, I think it's a little bit lower. I think I might be right. 528 hertz is the Schumann resonance. If I'm wrong, or it might be 427, something like that, you guys just correct me if I'm wrong. And then Art says Leif Erikson, the Norse explorer. So I don't know if Leaf was the guy who came over, but so let me tell this little story that I think, from what I understood, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but yes, it was definitely the Vikings that came by, and the Vikings had figured out long distance seafaring. They had these ships that were basically just like a Viking ship, but bigger. They just made them larger, and they were seaworthy, and they would literally come across the ocean, and had done so a few times, more than a few times. Like from what I understand, it was going on back in like the 300s. You know, and you know, from what I understand is the Vikings had figured out how to navigate the stars totally. Like they even had compasses. They were sextants. Like they really knew what they were doing, and that made them one of the most powerful civilizations in and of that time. I know that's the Bronze Age. So the Vikings were really the ish at the time, because the Vikings were big guys compared to most other civilizations, right? So they came. Some people call it, maybe that's where the whole thing of giants came from, right? Because these guys were really big. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, imagine being like a little dude and like
back then the average height was like 5'2".
Right.
So a guy who's 6'6" shows up.
What? That's a giant.
That's definitely a giant.
Yeah,
that's definitely a giant.
Like, who took your lunch money? It was a giant. He was a giant. You should have seen him.
Right? Yes. Exactly. And then they had all kinds of weird stuff going on that other civilizations to this day didn't do. And they were druid. They had druidic stuff going on with them. They had a bunch of different stuff going on. So, I realize we're all over the place. But it's all connected. Like, that's the funny thing. It's like I could draw a line through all of those things, and that's a pattern, right? Like I could literally show you how all of those things that we just talked about, how they're connected, how they all had meaning to each other, and there's a pattern. So it's like, it may seem like we're deviated from the conversation, but actually we're 100% talking about the pattern. Because, like, first off, like, when did time originate? When the time that we use now, when did we start using this time?
I don't know, but I'm sure you're going to tell us.
Oh, come on now.
Come on. I know you looked it up.
I don't know, actually. So you in the year, you know what? Google and I share the same birthday. If you Google Google's birthday, it's 9/27. My birthday is 9/27.
No.
Listen, you can't make this stuff up. It was like get into patterns. Like, so if you take 9 and divide it by 27, it's 0.333. That's 3 threes. 3 times 3 times 3 is 9. 3 to the third power is 27. Dude. Or excuse me, 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9, or 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So that's my repeating number that I see all the time. Just happens to be my birthday. Yeah, but I don't. So not using but here's the beauty of it is time was invented. This time that we use was invented in the calendar was in 327 by a man named Constantine. It wasn't that he invented it; he adopted it citywide.
Right.
And it's Rome. And it was what was the end of Rome, pretty much.
Right.
They came into they let go of the old Roman gods, and Judaism was prevalent.
Yep.
And Christianity was prevalent, and the majority of people were turning to the senators. All the people in power were turning to Christianity. It was a new religion. And because Christianity didn't exist in BC time, it was Judaism.
Right.
And but people, civilized people, but they didn't have all their holidays set, et cetera, et cetera. People have heard me say this before. So the calendar was created with weekends. So a friend of mine pointed out that weekends were created by Henry Ford. That is correct. But the Sabbaths, the 2 Sabbaths, Sunday and Saturday, were divided in evenness to give the exact same amount of Sabbaths to the Jews and to the Christians. And that's why we have 52 weeks in a year versus an odd number that the year actually makes. That's why that's what leap year, or the leap year day is all about, is making sure there is the right amount of Sabbaths for each religion. Otherwise, you have favor for us, and we might war to say, well, you're not giving us equal. And that was the whole idea that Constantine is, well, let's give them equal. That way they will stop bickering and fighting in each other. And that's where we came on this calendar that does not actually match natural patterns. That's why we have to keep adding time or taking away time is to make sure that there's 52 weeks. And so that's why there's 365 days in a year, not 360, because a revolution is 360 degrees, right?
Correct.
So that kind of throws us off just a little bit. And so I just read an article today that scientists are now recognizing that the Earth is moving the fastest it's ever been recorded.
Is that a good thing?
Well, it's happened before, and it's moving faster by 1.8 milliseconds.
So the last time it happened, what happened?
So what happens is there's two types of clocks. There's crystal clocks, which are based off of quartz frequency, like crystals vibrate, and it's how quickly the crystal vibrates. And quartz has a set time. It's the same thing for all quartz crystals, and that's what we originally based it. But that loses time over time, right? So over a long period of time. So what we use now is called an atomic clock, and that atomic clock is literally about the Earth's spin. It's it's just like an atom spinning in, like, because our solar system is kind of modeled after atoms, kind of thing. Well, I don't know if it's modeled. I can't say that unless you're the creator. But ultimately, there's a pattern that matches the physical world into the quantum world. Quantum meaning small. That's the small stuff. So, so whenever you hear about quantum physicists, because for a long time I always thought like quantum leap, that means they're like jumping through time and stuff, right? That's what I thought quantum meant.
Time continuum, right. And all that stuff.
Quantum is about small, the infinitesimal, the small stuff, quarks and
that's kind of cool too,
right? Well, but it's looking for the force and the energy and the vibrations and the frequency and the energy. And I just love. I wore the right shirt for this. Good energy, high frequency, wavy vibes. Had to plug. Oh man, that's an even good one too, right there. Black lives matter. They do, absolutely. Black lives do matter. I can't remember. Do it on the side, right? I love that I always do that. Like I'm so dyslexic when I'm.
Just like,
well, is it though? It's. I mean, if you're famous, don't you know which side stage left is?
No. But who's famous here?
Right. Well, you will be one day.
Of course. I mean,
absolutely. With that face, come on.
We all know that.
You're famous right now. You got people watching you right now.
That's true.
Right. All right. So what was I saying?
Something about quantum leap.
Right. So we were talking about quantum stuff. It's just how scientists said the Earth's moving really fast. And so the last time it happened, it was it was very, very small, but it's the fastest that it's ever moved now. So the whole point is what'll happen is instead of, we've actually had to use a leap second to catch up time, to keep time and keep clocks right.
Well, when did that happen?
Probably back in the 80s. I remember it's been done twice in my lifetime. They add a leap second. And so it's just like a leap year, or they add the day. Well, this is the same thing. So basically they keep messing with the clock. But now, so what happens is they might actually have to do a leap subtraction second to keep it going. If it keeps happening the way that is. But here, so if you really want to know what's causing it, what their belief is, polar caps, ice melting. There's less drag on the Earth. It's smoother, so it spins faster.
Oh, that's not our fault.
Yeah, not at all.
That happened.
That's Obama's fault.
Yeah.
But had to go there.
Okay. So what I want to know is like, what's going to happen because we're moving faster? Like, are we going to get older faster? Like, is that what's going to happen?
So,
like,
oh wow. So that actually, so technically, yes.
Yeah.
Or younger.
Right. That's
but because remember, time does not exist. It's not. It does, but it's not linear.
Right.
And it's based off of your perspective and what you're observing. So basically,
time is relative
to proximity to something else. Proximity means how close you are to something.
Right.
So the further away, so the way relativity works, the closer you are to observing where something is,
the faster it is.
Nope. The less, well, yes, exactly. That's true. That is true. It's the less you're capable of observing how fast it's going, which means the faster it's going.
Correct.
So the further you are, or the more capable you are observing how fast something is going, the less you have the ability to pinpoint where it's at. So it's kind of like a juxtaposition. I could tell you this table is right here because it's moving slow. But if it's moving fast, I'd be like, it's somewhere in this proximity. I can't tell you exactly, because when you go to measure it, it's no longer there.
Right.
So that's where, so you can either choose to measure speed, or you can choose to measure where something, location. Can't do both. Like, there's just no way of doing both yet. And that's really what relativity is all about, is the closer you are in proximity to something.
And then we'll be able to travel back in time. That's what I want to get to. I want to get to that part. Okay.
All right. Well, that might have to be another show.
All right. Okay.
I mean, except for, I have a formula for it in my journal over there. No, I'm kidding. It's a flux capacitor. It's, as a matter of fact, the date that Marty McFly came back to has already passed. You know that, right? Like,
I know.
We're older than old Marty McFly.
Yeah.
That's creepy,
so
bro.
Crazy.
And he looked so bad when he was old. Like, it's like, bro, you ain't really that old.
1.21 gigawatts. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a good frequency, So there's a lot of truth and stuff, but then all things have half truths in them, man. Like here's one where the pyramids, the coordinates, one coordinate, not both, the longitude and the latitude. I think it's the longitude for the Great Pyramid of Giza. Its longitude is the exact same number as the speed of light in a vacuum.
Yes.
And I think it's 399 something. So I don't know it offhand.
Yeah,
I was going to try to sound cool,
and it was the aliens that did it because nobody knew that.
Okay, but that's not just a coincidence. Because what about the other number?
The other number is something that y'all don't know about just yet.
So but speed of light is not so people tell you that it's a constant. It's not. Different scenarios, it changes. So that number is arbitrary.
But
it's a man-made number.
Anything.
It's a man-made number.
Because, if you would have asked a long time ago if, the rotation of the Earth is at a constant, they would have been like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, but light in space is a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
So light travels through space, and they're saying, well, it happens at this time. But then there's these big planets.
Yeah.
That have gravity.
Yeah.
Right. So light is being pulled by that gravity, so it doesn't have the same speed because something else has gravity on it.
Right.
So there's no true vacuum anywhere. It doesn't exist. So it's a fictitious number that man made up.
But it's close.
Right. It's close.
Yeah.
But that's like the golden ratio. It's close.
It's close.
But it ain't.
It's close.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Can't build a bridge on it.
But maybe everything is exactly as it seems.
Well, you got to remember the pyramids are built so precisely.
They're
That's the beauty thing about them, is like you can't even stick a credit card between the crack, right? And they're tons. They're they're
aliens.
Yeah. Well, you ever seen an octopus?
Aliens.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So but then again, why do all humans have to be human? Aliens. All right, I'm having too much fun with that button. But yeah, man. Do I believe in aliens? I'll say that for another show. What about you? Do you believe in aliens?
Oh, absolutely. There's no way there's all this space out here, the limitlessness of it, and it's just for us. Because if it is, that's really sad because we kind of suck. So, that'd be terrible. Like,
what if Star Trek's really the primer? Like it's just the primer for us to be like, yeah, this is what's really going to happen.
When used to
get warp. Like, we can't talk to you till you figure out warp drive.
Yeah.
Till then, you're on your own.
Right. It's like, why would they want to talk to us if we can't even get out of our own solar system? Like, that's weak.
We're close. We're really close, to be honest with you. Like, we have the technology is actually, so yeah, as usual, my thing is the technology's already there. The issue is politics and bureaucracy and the fact that we're still stuck on the money system. Who's going to pay for it?
Right.
You know, the reason Elon Musk isn't on Mars right now is because who's going to pay for it?
Right.
Like we should already have sent somebody. We have the technology. Let's just go. We have the whole idea of light sails, the whole idea of folding. Like we're there. We can do all of this stuff. We can open up a wormhole. Trust me, it's technology that's real. It's been around for a while. I'm not saying it's safe. I'm not saying it's not going to destroy the planet.
Can we open up a wormhole?
Sure.
That should be the next show.
There's wormholes in my backyard, man.
I do. I want to bend the fabric of time, and
you don't think you're doing that right now?
no, totally not.
Come on, I posted in the Awake and Aware group the other day. Was the guy looking and then looking away from the Pauly Paulson experiment, the double slit?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So energy goes where energy flows.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're looking for patterns,
You'll see patterns.
So the first time, but before not ever seeing a pattern, what's going on then?
I ain't never seen no pattern before. I ever seen a pattern.
My very first pattern, the very first pattern that I ever noticed was a synchronicity, and it had to do with repeating numbers. It was all three. It was the perfecta. I was watching, I used to be a huge Jeopardy fan. Rest in peace, Alex Trebek. We love you, man. Condolences to his family. And awesome guy. And I was watching Jeopardy. I've told this story before too. I tell all my stories multiple times. They're just so good.
So do I.
But the thing is I got to remember if I told them on a show already. Or season 2, bro. Season 2. This is season 2, 2021. Like, bro, we're already past party like it's 1999. Like that was the big thing, man. Like I was just like, what? 1999 is gonna go down. It's gonna be year 2000, and then we were like, oh my god, it's gonna be 2012. It's the end of the world, and then it didn't happen. And
yeah,
then, right.
I was a little upset about
right.
that actually.
So what else do we have to look forward to? Anyhow, so it was back in I don't remember what I was talking about. See, I told you I've only had an hour and a half sleep, right?
Terrible.
You know what I got to look forward to? Tuesday. February 22nd, 2022. It's Tuesday.
2-2.
2-2.
2-2. 2.
Or 2-2-2-2. 2, and it's on a Tuesday.
And on a Tuesday.
It is a Tuesday.
Right.
So is that a quinky dink?
No, that is divine intervention.
Well, if that's so, wait a minute. So listen, if you believe that's divine intervention, then everything is divine intervention. Because it's like telling you what's not. Like, where do you separate? Like, all right, this Nike Jordan Air shoe over here, that's man-made. But this on a calendar over here, that's on a man-made calendar in the first place.
It is.
But it's divine.
Right. Bro.
What makes Constantine divine and not Michael Jordan?
Bro.
Michael, come on. That's the GOAT.
That's the GOAT.
That's
Absolutely.
the GOAT. I'm just saying. All right.
Without doubt.
Thank you. I agree with it. LeBron's good, but MJ's the GOAT.
No, well, the GOAT is whoever changed the game. Changed the game forever. Everybody has to play up to that level now.
Facts.
So you're
if you never better, because exactly, we won't ask. We won't even contemplate. If you're the GOAT, we won't be like comparing you to MJ.
Right.
We be like, there's been nobody like this guy ever again.
Exactly.
Like that's what we said with MJ.
LeBron's great, but he's like MJ.
I never compared MJ to Wilt.
No.
Because it's totally different, right?
Totally different.
When Wilt came along, he was the GOAT.
Yes.
When Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came along, he was the GOAT. When MJ came along, he was the GOAT.
So ever since once that person came on the scene, everybody that came after had to play up to that level to be seen.
Facts.
That was the new bar. You just set the bar, and so you can't go backwards and play like you did in grade school. It's just not working.
I remember watching tennis, like we're playing watching McEnroe play. Listen, watch Peter Sampras play, watch Federer play, and then watch Rafael Nadal play. Like each time they changed the game to watch Ash play. Like each time, like it just like if you were to watch Ash play any of those people after him, they'd have whooped his ass. They'd have gave him. He was a great player. He was the GOAT in his time.
But the only reason why they were so good is because they had to come up to his level.
Facts.
People afterwards, yeah.
Right. And then same thing with I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the GOAT in all sports is Serena Williams. I think she's hands down the GOAT, period.
Yeah.
Period. The GOAT.
One day she's going to get.
You notice we jumped to sports, right?
Yeah.
Guess what? I'll tie it in. Don't you worry.
One day though, she's going to get the true recognition that she really deserves.
She's still playing. She's still winning championships.
Yeah, but she's not. That nobody cares.
Well, I wonder why that is.
Yeah, because she's a black woman and nobody cares about that.
And she's thick.
And she's thick than a snicker, boy. Let me tell you. Right? But like that, so nobody cares right now. Hopefully, what happens is that there's a growing consciousness on this planet where we kind of value all life, and not just
so being the pinnacle or being at the absolute forefront, the not following in the wake of anybody else. Like she saw tennis, she saw Arthur Ashe play, she saw Sampras and McEnroe, like, and because like to up and before that, the only top female tennis player was Steffi Graf, and she couldn't play with any guy by any freaking means, not of that caliber. Her game was not that good, so Serena was looking at men. So right. Venus and Serena, the both of them, they were watching male players and how they played to dominate the game. And so ultimately now they are the most dominant force in any sport ever. There's been even Bobby Fischer as a chess player was not even remotely as dominant. I mean, Bobby Fischer is probably not a good example. Rocky Marciano was not as dominant in boxing because Marciano was a dominant figure in boxing.
Who did he fight?
Everybody everybody that was.
Yeah, they were all bums.
Well, you believe that? Really? You think that everybody he fought was bums? I don't think he was ducking anybody from what I heard. That's why I brought him up.
No, so what you're saying, what you're saying is right. Like it, he brought new flavor to the game. Mm-hmm. Right, just a new style, new technique, whatever, a way to.
I'm not saying he's the greatest boxer of all time, but
right. But at the time, like everybody was following all the rules that were set out before them. They were just everybody was doing the same thing.
Right. Well, they were bare knuckles fighting almost before that.
Yeah,
right?
and so he changed it up.
Right.
And put some flavor on that joint, and he whooped some asses. This is what happened basically.
Facts.
So everybody's going in, thinking they're fighting like that same fight.
Right.
I'm going to just go in there and fight the same fight I always fought.
So he switched it up. Then he was at the pinnacle of switching up, like Ali was at the pinnacle of rope-a-doping people.
Right. So those Civil War movies. No, not Civil. Yeah, Civil War movies.
You got to tie that. You got to find a way to tie this.
No, we're gonna get it in there. All right. Where the British would, they had their way of just standing there in front of people and like shooting and then
absolutely. Redcoats, man, the redcoats. Yeah.
Right. So that was
guerrilla warfare changed it all.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was effective for a long time, but then there was a time where somebody was like, "Man, this is stupid." Like,
I'm not standing in front of you.
Exactly. And so they came out from the side and was like, "Boom, got you, got him." Right. got him. But then it changed from that point forward. Right. Like you can't just keep coming out like just standing in front of me.
From what I understand, the British did it for a while. They just didn't give up. They were like, let's try this
one more time, guys.
Exactly. So hold on. We got some good stuff in here. Let's see. Art said, I read an article before that said there was actually a slight backing it up. So, said that there's actually a slight wobble in the Earth's spin that also affects the speed of the Earth's rotation every 1,000 years or so. It has not occurred as predicted and is about 100 plus overdue, and is partly the reason for stronger hurricanes and storms and ice caps and melting faster. I've heard that too, Art. But in addition to that, our North and South Pole actually are not directly on the Earth's axis. So where the Earth's spin is not the same place where the magnetic field is created. So that also has a place. So it's kind of like a bowling ball, how like you put a little spin on it, or, English on a ball. So the Earth is spinning, but it's also got its own other little extra spin in that. So that also has an effect. And then most scientists believe that the pole, and it has happened before, is that the poles shift where the North Pole will become the South Pole and the South Pole will become the North Pole. And we have no clue what that'll
Dude,
do,
that's gonna be
do for
crazy.
humanity. Yeah, some people will say it'll be okay. Some people will be like,
that it just doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like everything's going to be okay at all.
well, technically the planet does not flip over.
Bro, you
it's
can't just keep switching stuff up like that.
exactly
It's
right.
not
It's
gonna
kind
be
of
all right.
scary.
Yeah.
So then Kat said aliens.
Right.
Or wait, she said reptilian. Wait, have you not seen my eyes closed sideways and so my eyes blink this way and they also blink this way. I need you to check that out. All right, you're gonna have to watch intently now. Just stare at my eyes and see when they do close this way, like a lizard. Yvonne says birds do it. The wormhole thing, seeing patterns in many dimensions with their moving heads and moving eyes. What about spiders? They got 8 eyes.
They got 8 eyes. They're probably seeing all kinds of dimensions and whatnot.
Period. Period. Of course, they're seeing 8. They're seeing 16 different dimensions.
Right.
So, the idea of the butterfly effect. So most people think the movie The Butterfly Effect is that, like the ripple, the whole ripple thing. That's the ripple theory. From what I understand, originally the butterfly effect was the fact that a butterfly flipping upside down and flying is actually staying put and the whole world is moving in its place. It's making the world spin around crazy like.
I'm just going to leave that one where it's at.
Because technically,
that just blew my mind.
In the butterfly's mind, that's what's happening.
Oh.
It's not doing all these loop-de-loops. It's like the world's spinning because technically the world is upside down to the butterfly, right? That's its perspective. It doesn't have the same anchor to reality that you do because it can turn the world upside down. So in its mind, it's technically just saying, oh, flip that shit upside down, and that's how it flies.
Wow.
It's like, oh, I want to see this upside down. I want to put this up here, and because it has no anchor.
All right.
They can fly upside down. Like some animal, like birds. Some birds can't fly upside down. A butterfly can fly upside down.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a bird fly upside down.
Sure, you have. They do it all the time. You just hadn't noticed.
I'm going to notice now.
Yeah, they can fly upside down. Totally. It's like each little animal has its own little pinnacle.
Yeah.
But that's what makes it what it is. It's the pinnacle of its thing. That's what evolution is when it hits its pinnacle, it becomes that thing. So that's why I was trying to get into the whole idea of pinnacles is that whatever that pinnacle is, it causes like some kind of frequency and says, this is what it is and becomes a reality of things. And so like Serena, like becoming the GOAT, like there's nobody to say everybody is now following in her wake. She's now become the pattern. Like everything else to be a pattern of a tennis player. If you can't do as well as she can, we're not even going to talk about you. Or better, if you can't replicate or become something entirely new.
Right.
And so like the only other tennis players that we talk about are the ones that are new and playing in a new way because they've evolved. Like there's some better, there's a tennis player out there right now who may be better than Venus right now. And she's a mixed girl. I think she's mixed in Asian and something. And from what I don't know her name off the top. I haven't been watching tennis for a while. But she's beaten Serena a few times. I'm clear as Serena's not in her prime anymore. Right. But Serena, it doesn't matter if she's in her prime. She knows everything there is to know about tennis inside and out to this point. You've got to evolve to beat her on any day.
Oh, absolutely.
Because she's still better than everybody else.
Right, and that's why she's the GOAT.
Well, right, but that's why she's also the pinnacle. We call that, in nature, we call that the apex predator, but she's the pinnacle of it. And what that does is so now that's a truth, right? So when we say it's a truth, it's because we can't divide that and say she's anybody else because we don't say Michael Jordan is a little bit of Clyde and a little bit of Magic and a little bit of that's who he grew up watching.
Right.
So in a way he is, but he evolved that. He's not doing he's not doing Dr. J Skyhook, right? He's not doing Magic's finger roll, right? He did all his own shit. And that's what makes him Jordan. So he had to evolve out of that to become something else. So when we're looking at patterns though, and we're saying, so when we talk about multiple numbers. There's a lot of books. A lot of people say, oh, they're angel numbers, right? So one of the first books that when I woke up, I think the first book that I bought was Archangel Michael and Repeating Numbers. I didn't even know it was about repeating numbers. I bought a book about Michael, and then it turned out to be about numbers. What's really going on? Had a little primer about all the archangels. I don't know why I bought that book first. I don't know, but it had violet coloring on it. It was about angels. I was like, this is nice. If they're real, I'd like to, connect and commune. And
you're sitting next to one right now.
Hey, right? Hey, glad to meet you. And but some people believe we're all angels. So so I got that book, and it was all about numbers. And then I started finding other caches of information about angel numbers, like 111, 222, 333, 444, these repeating number patterns, which I saw. Oh, you know what? I got to back up because the story that I forgot earlier was the Jeopardy story. Thanks. And it's a repeating, it leads right into it. So I was watching Jeopardy, and I was using TiVo, and we would pause in between questions so we could take more time. If somebody had rung in fast, and bleep, I'm like, well, I want time to be able to answer the question. So we would pause the TV and think about the question in between. And when I paused the TV, I had noticed that each person had $500 on the screen, and the little Comcast box at the top said 555 because it was a taped recording. So I had taped it, from like earlier in the week. So, but when I paused it, it said 555 and it said 500, 500, 500. And I was like, oh, cool. That's a coincidence. And I said to my friend, of course, listen, I used to smoke weed. I don't anymore, but I was smoking then. So I literally look like Elon Musk. So what if there's coincidences everywhere, not just on the TV, and we're just missing them? Like, Beavis, shut up. And I was like, what if we're just missing them because we're not looking? Because I knew what a coincidence was, but I'd never seen one to say, hey, let's look for these things. And from that moment on, it was like waking up. I took, it was like Morpheus said, hey, here's the red pill or the blue pill. I snatched them both, put them both in my mouth and said, now what? That's Morpheus was like, no,
I would have done the same thing.
So I took the purple pill, and from that point on, I see number patterns in everything, like all the time, constantly. Like, I look behind me, and I don't see the flame. I see 3. I see the number 3, right? I see circles as 360 degrees. I see triangles as 270 degrees. I see, I don't just look at letters and numbers. I see them as interchangeable and interposable. Like I was talking with my man earlier that this right here was the 27th letter of the alphabet, the ampersand. And so, there was 27 letters in the alphabet originally. They took it out. I don't know why they had to wait on it.
Right, it's your
hate
favorite.
on the end. It is my favorite. I mean, it's awake and aware, right? So I'm awake, you're aware, right? Or you're aware, I'm awake, right? So that's why that was originally there. Anyhow, numbers. So 1 through 27. The number A is 1. The number B is 2. The number C is 3, or the letter C is 3, right? And you go all the way down, right? And so you can assign. This is called gematria. And so, what?
Yeah.
What? Hipping you to something new?
Not sure what that means.
Okay. So gematria is basically when you, so if you're familiar with the term that is called Kabbalah.
I've heard that term.
So Jewish mysticism uses gematria to study the Bible and recognize that there's patterns in the Bible that are based off of number patterns.
Stop it.
And there's information in the Bible from these patterns. That is what Kabbalah is.
Bro.
Oh. Messed that all up. I don't even hear myself anymore. What happened? Anybody? Can you hear me? Damon?
Yeah.
I can't hear myself. What's going on? I did something.
Oh, you did something. But you hit a couple of buttons, and now we got birds.
What about?
Yeah.
Hello. Ooh, that wasn't good.
Well, I can hear you.
All right. Well, you keep talking because I'm. Oh, I see what I did. All right. Whoops. How about now? Oh my gosh. Glad you guys could hear me. So when I hit that, I knocked all kinds of things out and made it all kinds of awry.
Terrible.
I don't even remember what I was talking about. That tripped me out. So see, sometimes the universe is like, that would be a synchronicity. It's like, yo, you're not supposed to tell these people about the Gematria and Kabbalah. It's secret. It's a mystic art. It's only for those people who are supposed to be initiated. All right. But I'm going to tell you about it anyway. So Gematria is this mystic thing that people read. So it's not just the Bible. It's just basically you take out 1 through. So basically the word coincidence, I even think, comes to 111. And it's like if you add up all the numbers and words, and then they give you a number. And then there's other numbers of words that have frequency. Like supposedly, if you were to use a Gematria and look up the word computer, gives you 666. If you were to look up the term mark of the beast, it gives you 666.
No.
If you were to look up Jesus is Christ, it gives you 888. Yeah, this is a real thing. So if you don't believe me, it doesn't matter if you believe me or not, but go out and look up Gematria. It's spelled Gematria. Gematria calculator. Have fun. You'll be lost for days playing with this thing. You're like, what's my name and what's my number, right? But yeah, so this is what people call the Matrix. This is in other cultures. This was the Matrix before the Matrix was the Gematria, because that's what it is. It's using a matricy, and it's an interesting thing. But it shows that there are other patterns underlying under the pattern. So what do? Go down the rabbit hole. So there's a movie called 23, right?
I just watched that not too long ago.
Oh, how was that?
It was good.
Okay. There's another one called Pi.
Oh,
Have you seen Pi?
I have not seen
Any of you guys seen Pi?
The Life of Pi?
No, this one's just called Pi.
Just Pi.
It's about a Jewish kid who is kind of a computer programmer. He's a loner, et cetera, but he starts to recognize that there's patterns underlying everything using Gematria. And everybody starts to recognize that, like, people don't want to talk to him. They don't want to near him, but people are like, we know what you're doing. And it's weird. It's a black and white movie. It's real freaky. But eventually he goes crazy because he goes so far down the rabbit hole with numbers.
Well, that's what happened
that he gets lost
as well.
Did he? Was he really crazy?
Well,
Because I don't remember. I haven't seen that one in a while.
Yeah. So yeah, he was crazy.
So what about? Has anybody seen the movie It's called The Nines. Anybody seen that one?
No.
It's with hang on. It's got Elizabeth McCarthy, the comedian, right?
Oh.
And it has Deadpool. What's his name? Robert or not Robert. Come on, guys. What's Deadpool's name? The guy who plays Deadpool. Ryan. It's not Seacrest.
It's definitely not.
Come on, guys. Help me out here. What's Ryan Reynolds? See, I beat you to
Reynolds.
it. Yeah. Okay. So Ryan Reynolds plays this guy who is an actor who gets fired, and he goes to buy some crack, and he goes and he smokes crack, and he winds up getting in a car accident, and he thinks he dies, but he wakes up. But now he's stuck in rehab, and then but it's the same people playing different roles in his life, but it's the same characters or the same people playing characters. So every time he thinks he dies or goes to sleep or wakes up, it's a different role that the people are playing, but it's the same people who just keep showing up. And eventually they recognize, so he's a 9 in this movie. He's a 9 and everybody. So basically he's like God. He's creating the reality and all the other people are just in it. And he just keeps recycling the same people in his own life.
So he's the dreamer.
So it's kind of like Dharma and Karma, right?
Right. Like he's the dreamer and
right.
Everybody in the dream.
And it's based off of numbers, and he's a master number as the 9. And I bet you nobody's seen it.
Never.
Like the Matrix, but y'all haven't seen the 9s.
Never seen it.
Yeah, check that one out. It'll blow your fucking mind. It's good too. It's a little hokey. It's a little slow, but it's like, because you never see it. Trust me, you'll never see any of it coming. and then you're like, what the hell was that? I mean, it's not as bad as Cloud Atlas.
I had to watch that, I think, like 17 times to understand what the hell was going on.
That's because there was nothing to understand, and
Yeah.
it just never tied it together.
They really didn't. It was loose as hell.
So for a long time, that's how I felt about the Grateful Dead, man. Like, I just couldn't get their music.
I still don't get it.
Yeah, that's because you're not on acid.
Yeah. Oh, dude, what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think a lot of their shit. I mean, listen, there's some stuff that's phenomenal
Well,
from
no,
them, and then it's like,
for me, it's because it's very folky and like the backbeat is weak.
I get it.
So,
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's fish.
Yeah.
It's early fish.
Yeah, I can't do it.
So we're probably losing viewers when we talk about. I don't know. Listen, I never got into fish, but I have friends that follow the both of them around. Deadheads and are fish fans. Like, they go from concert to concert. I get it. If you guys like it, it's cool.
Yeah, the fans are cool.
So I've never seen Vanilla Sky. She said that movie in Vanilla Sky was really bad. I know the premise of it. I just never seen it.
Yeah.
But I like movies like that.
I'd like to know what the book was like. Maybe I should read the books.
Which one? Vanilla Sky or
Vanilla Sky or Cloud Atlas might even make more sense.
That makes sense
in a book, because like you lose things when you try and put people in these roles, and you try and wrap it up within the right amount of time, because it seems like some of these movies, it's like, yeah, it's going, and then they're like, okay, shut it down. Like, just button it up and like we're done.
Well, speaking of button up, any of you guys want to call in? So if somebody wants to call in, throw the number up, join us in our conversation here. Here it comes. So it kind of works like first caller kind of thing. Except, why is my phone not connected? This happened. There we go. Hey, there's no music all this time.
Oh yeah, so listening to the sweet sounds. Come on down. Give us a call.
So give us a call. Join us in conversation. I saw Shutter Island. I was kind of. It did caught me off guard. I mean, it was supposed to. It's like The Sixth Sense. It's supposed to, But then it's like there's no filler after that. Like, it's not a movie that I ever want to watch again because it wasn't enough. Like The Matrix, I know what happens in The Matrix. I can watch that over and over again.
I have.
Yeah, likewise. I mean, I don't watch it as much as I because it's just not like I feel like I could make a better movie.
Yeah,
but I'm from San Francisco. They're filming the new Matrix in San Francisco.
What?
As we speak.
Is Keanu going to be in it?
Of course he is. The Wachowski sisters. They used to be the Wachowski brothers. They are both now the Wachowski sisters. This is a true story.
Both of them.
Both of them. Both. Yes. It's not a brother and a sister. It's sister. Good evening. Welcome to Wake and Aware. Who do I have on the phone? Hello.
Hey, it's Art.
Art, what's up, man?
Hey, Art, how are you?
What's up?
Nice. See, told you to get you on the show.
Got him.
Yeah, right.
Damian's a trip, man. He's right on time with a lot of stuff. So what's up, man? How you doing? Happy birthday.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I got a lot out of your show. Always do. I don't know. It was the story thing. I think that Synchronicities that first piqued my interest, which I thought was kind of funny. So going back a number of years ago, like your first episode, I believe you had Jazzy on talking about working in treatment, right? So I started working out, and Damian worked in that field as well, I believe, from the last part. I was working in the field as a detox unit for a couple of years, and I actually was in school at the time as well. And I don't know if it's that whole frequency thing, right? But through the awakening process, if you want to call it that or whatever, I think it was kind of, I got to a place where things seemed to be just unfolding at a rate where I'm just good with anything and everything that's coming down my path. And wherever I'm supposed to be, it's like I'm just riding the ebb and flow of life, and things are just gravy, regardless of what's happening. good, bad, and different. Like I'm just rolling with it and everything is fine. So I wound up going for a job interview at a different treatment facility. And it's like going into a conversation with somebody who basically could change the flow of the river you're going on. And I came into that conversation basically saying, hey, like, I'm about to start nursing school. I need to have benefits, but I can't wait 90 days to get them. Like, I need them from day one. I need X amount of dollars for a salary, and I need these specific days because my nursing school schedules are already set. If you can work with me, that's great. But if you can't, like, I'm good. Like, it's all, it's whatever. So I was in that job interview, I think, maybe a half an hour, and like they gave me everything that I was asking for. So I don't know about anybody else, but in this day and age, it's unheard of for somebody to give you medical benefits from the door, for one. But the fact that that's what my requirement was to work there, the company that I was applying for and had the interview with literally just changed medical providers, which allowed me to get benefits from day one. Like literally they were doing that week. And because it was the very beginning and I was one of the first people to get enrolled in those benefits the entire
Art, I'm going to stop you for 1 second. Art, I'm going to interrupt you just because it's January 10th at 10:10. So since we're talking about number patterns, that's 1, 1, 1, 1.
That's awesome.
Right? It is.
Yeah. So for like 2 years, I had medical benefits for my daughter and myself that I didn't even have to pay for because I was grandfathered in from the gate when they got in with this provider. I didn't have to pay for them the entire time.
Nice.
So I don't know if that fulfills that synchronicity thing.
Absolutely. No, I mean, for everybody, it's different, especially the way you look at it. But also it was so one of the things, here's a term that's kind of old school that a lot of people don't use anymore, is a windfall.
Right.
Where it's not luck because, it like didn't just come knock on your door and get you out of bed. You put yourself in the right place in the right time. So I like to, for me, the way I tend to try to explain that to people is that you're in the right frequency. You found your joy, you found your bliss, or first off, you're happy you got the job, right?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I wound up losing it later on. But
right, but no, we're talking about when you got the special treatment. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. You were happy you had a job, got the job, and of course maybe it was time to shed it. Like just like I saw a man's lizard shedding its skin the other day. Sometimes like we shed jobs, we shed relationships, we shed all kinds of things. Right. I told you. Did you see my eyes? No. Kidding. Or am I?
Can I add something to this? It's just my perspective of what I saw in your story, and what I saw was that like there was a confidence, there was no lack or neediness, right? Like when you go into a job, interview and you're like needy. People can pick that up and they're like, oh, this person's needy. We're just going to sprinkle a little something, just give them a little something because they'll take anything, Yeah. But there's like, so when you go in without that neediness, and the only way you have that is like with a certain level of confidence or surety, like everything's going to be all right, whether this works out or not, And where do we come with that? Like the synchronicity thing. These coincidences, like once we start like cataloging these things that are happening, it's like, well, no matter what, I've been on this path and it seems like this is for me. And so when I go in, I'm going to tell you, okay, this is for me. And you're going to give me what I need so that we can make this work. So that's cool. Like just go ahead.
Right.
Yeah. Without being cocky or anything like that. It's just, being confident in the fact that like I'm worth this and this is what I need. And if you don't give me what I want, then that's okay, because I'm going to get what I want, whether it's from you or it's from somebody else, and it's just fine. you know.
So
Yeah.
part of what's synchronicity, I mean, in my belief system, part of what synchronicity is acknowledgement that you're crossing a path or an opportunity or a trajectory that you could be on, or it's a reaffirmation that you are on the path, to stay on the path, or what you know, the energy that you're putting out is good for you, and it's more closely aligned to where you really want to be. So it's an affirmation. When I first started about reading about synchronicities and these numbers, et cetera, they were like one of the, not problems, but one of the things that we tend to do when we first get started out is we're so focused on the synchronicity. We're so focused on, oh, look, there's the word I just said floating across the TV. Or I was just talking about Wu-Tang and I turned the TV on and there's an inner 36 chamber. Right, exactly. Wu-Tang for the kids. And there goes Old Dirty Bastard on TV on a Mariah Carey song, old school song or something, you know? And it's like, man, I just said that. But like, just like in the Matrix, when Neo's talking to the Oracle, he goes to see the Oracle and he knocks the vase over when she's making cookies. And she said, oh, don't worry about that, baby. And she says, what's going to really blow your mind is whether or not you would have knocked over the vase if I hadn't said anything. So are you thinking about Wu-Tang because it's actually on the TV and that's why you said it? Or did you say it and then it came on because you said it? So there is, in the way the quantum world works, it's both. They are both interconnected. You are so because remember, time's not linear. There actually is no what happened before or what happened after. There is only now.
Right.
So you are perceiving it. So here's the thing. All right, let me break it down. For human beings, is we all believe there's cause and effect in everything that we do, except humans create and perceive at the exact same time.
Create and perceive
at the same time.
At the
exact same time. Correct. And that's what gives us all these little freaky things that are going on. You're like, oh my God, yeah, of course, because everything is just connected to everything that is connected to everything that is connected to everything. There's no separation. You're just perceiving slices of it. And so it seems things are not connected, but absolutely everything is just connected. You're actually connected to your 12-year-old self right now. You're not like twice removed from your 9-year-old self. You are still connected to it. Now there may be some fogginess in between because your cognitive memory or your cognitive id or your the person you are by your persona of who you think you are right now is not close in proximity to your 9-year-old self. You can't move your you can't make your thought and say, oh, I can remember moving my 9-year-old hand. But here's what's crazy is who you are now is affecting who you are as a 9-year-old.
All right. I don't know where we just went with that.
Okay. So, all right.
Yeah.
So give you an example so say you strike it rich, right? And say it was in the oil industry, right? Maybe you've never experienced oil ever, but then one day you're just sitting back and be like, man, I remember that time when I was in art class and I was reading the National Geographic and they were talking about oil in Texas. And I was like, and then you just remember that and you're like, that really that was really paying attention. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Why would I have gone to that page? Because why, you think it was by chance that you're reading the National Geographic and that you saw that article on oil, right?
Right.
And then 45 years later, you've struck it rich on oil.
Right.
And you don't realize that they're connected to each other in time. So now here's the funny thing is, did you actually ever have that memory of reading the National Geographic? Or only is that because you've struck oil and you've actually created in your past to have that memory? Because your memories work both ways. Bro. You can actually create memories in your past as if they happened. So yes, the funny thing is you are creating your 9-year-old self just as much as your 9-year-old self created who you are today. So what you do has an effect to your past. Now, whether or not it changes your past, it is constantly adding to your past. That's how memories work. Like, we can chemically see that's how memories actually work.
So,
ooh, look at that. I just got some kind of glowy thing on my watch. It liked whatever I said.
So back to the Matrix, right?
Back to the Matrix.
The cat.
Mm-hmm.
And the cat, like,
Right.
what was that? You know?
Right. Or you see it go by and then you see it go by
right.
again.
He was like, it's the cat. Mm-hmm. The cat went by twice, right?
Oh, don't pick on Neo.
Yeah.
You know, Neo is an anagram for what?
What?
Do you know Neo? The reason that his name is Neo in the movie, why it's Neo?
No.
It's an anagram for another word. One. O-N-E.
Because he's the one.
Exactly. But as we're talking about numbers, so Neo is
all right.
The one.
So the whole thing with the cat, right, was about the deja vu, right? He was like,
but it's not deja vu.
So he's like deja vu, and they were like, oh, that was a glitch in the Matrix,
right?
Right.
So that's it. So I gotta break down the misnomers. Deja vu, if you can look it up, is the definition of the feeling that you have done something before, but you actually haven't. The fact that the cat did go by twice makes it not deja vu. It's a glitch.
Right.
And that's how they right.
But the phenomenon of deja vu, and you're talking about like fixing stuff in your past and or changing things, and like time not being
your memory,
time not being linear.
Yep.
Or what have
Getting real kooky here, right?
Yeah. So that you could throw deja vu right into that.
Right,
somehow,
so deja vu is a psychiatrist term for the feeling that you've done something before, but you actually have not. So if you have done it, it's something else.
Right,
could be vertigo, could be could be a memory hiccup,
like a thing that just happened, and it's like, dude, did this happen already? I felt like I was here and I did this. This happened before.
Do you really feel like?
Do you mind if I interject for a second?
Yeah, please.
No, Art.
So I'm all, like on a separate train of thought, but along the same lines too, is like, because to me it sounds like you're getting on that conversation of like your spiritual energy body as opposed to the physical body in this perceived time and moment, right? So a different train of thought is like, I was reading a book on astral projection back in high school.
I love how we just get into everything. I love it.
I know.
I know, right?
We were talking. Well, we were.
But
see, coincidence is we were talking about astral projection right before we started the show. Yeah. So please go ahead. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So, like, instead of time, it's about location, right? So in this book, and I think the test that I'm referring to in this book was back in, I want to say probably like the 40s or the 50s, maybe something like that. I don't exactly know when, but it was this psychologist doctor who was talking with this woman, and she could supposedly astral project wherever she wanted to go on the planet, and she gave testimony of going to all these different places around the globe that she physically had never been to because she's never left the United States. She was living at the time in New York City, I believe. So they set up this experiment where they had the doctor psychologist that was with her in his office in New York City, and they had a separate doctor over in, I believe it was London, with a witness who was on the other end of the phone line. So they had the woman lying on the bed, and they said, okay, speaking to the doctor in London, this gentleman is going to write a word on the tablet on the piece of paper. You're going to tell the psychologist in New York City what that word is that the gentleman in London wrote down on the paper. The psychologist told the guy that was witness in London what the guy wrote down, and the woman guessed what the word was correctly that he wrote down without anybody saying what
I don't think he guessed it. I think he read it.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, she like her energy body, like she
right. So you're listen. You're amongst friends here. This is reality. You're talking to people who've all had out of body experiences. Holly Rose said "ubi." We used to use that term called "ubi," OBE, out of body experience.
Yeah.
So what was the book? Do you remember the name of the book?
I I honestly don't. I still remember the what the cover looked like.
So was it a fiction book or was it a like an actual recount?
No, it was an actual book on astral projection, and it
gotcha.
was like it had.
Well, it could still be just
stories
written
of
from
people that did that.
Yeah, that story sounds familiar to me, and also
I've had that experience
what
before.
sounds familiar is that there may have been tests done and experiments done to see if you could send somebody's astral body to go spy on your enemies.
So here's the thing: is you don't have to use astral protection to do that. That's called remote scrying. You can just there are people who can just look into other places. Yeah. So the issue is with that is so like when they talk about the evil eye, that's one aspect of that. The other aspect is like you have to know where you're going to perceive it. But the thing is we all have knowingness, especially when we're out of our body. So I got to break down this. See, you opened up a segue to a story, and this may be a little bit off topic. I'm not going to know how to tie this in other than it's a newbie.
There's a topic.
Angels. My first out of body experience was it's kind of shape shifting. Like I was in an animal, and the reason I had the experience as an animal. I'm going to tell you guys what it is, and you guys probably think less of me. It was a snake, and I don't like snakes. I mean, who does?
Yeah,
but,
I thought you were going to say a llama.
Okay,
so.
that's it. I'm not the Dalai Lama, bro. I'm more. So anyway, it was a snake, and I was swimming, and it was like cool. I could feel the water on me. It was cool. It was a brief period of time, but once I realized I was like, I don't really like being a snake. Anyway, I snapped back and I was in my body. But then that was the first time I had sleep paralysis at the same time. Because guess what? I couldn't move because I wasn't used to having limbs. So it took me a good 15 minutes to even be able to move an arm. That was my first out-of-body experience. And at first, how do I know I'm not dreaming? How do I know I'm not hallucinating? How do I know that just wasn't, some type of meditation, et cetera, other than having the body paralysis after the fact. So the next one that I had, that came on its own. Like I was just like halfway, I was trying to meditate and that happened. The second time that it happened to me, again, wasn't trying to have an out-of-body experience, but I did sit down, or I laid down. I was with my girlfriend, then girlfriend. She was like, I'm going to go to the store. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take a nap. So she goes to walk to the store. There was a corner store a block away from where we lived. So she walked by and I was just dozing. And the next thing I knew, I was hovering above her walking to the store. On the way to the store, there was a guy who would ask us for money. We knew that, they knew us as a couple, and he walked up to her and asked her for money. And she was like, oh, I don't have any money, or you have to wait till I come back. He was like, no, I need it now. And he grabbed her. And the second that he grabbed her, that's when I was above her. And I remember recognizing the whole situation. And I was just in my head, I was like, yo, leave her alone. And he jumped off and just let her go and walked away. I stayed with her. She went to the store. And again, I'm just, my perspective is I can see, like, as if I'm hovering above a person, I can see down at her and she's just walking to the store. She goes into the store. The guy's name was Mr. Kim. And he was like, oh, where's your boyfriend? And it's like, oh, he's at home. She's like, well, tell him I got something for him. And he gave me like a whole display of snus. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But he was like, yeah, so tell him I got something for him. His wife asked about me. It was like, yeah, where's your boyfriend? Oh, he's same thing. So she goes and buys 2 Pepsis. At the time, we both smoked cigarettes. So she went and bought a pack of Camel Crush and a pack of Marlboro 27s, right? So my point is I could see what she was doing. Heard the conversation. She bought 2 bags of peanut M&Ms, right? And the change, and then got change. And then she put the change in a brown paper bag. Like she didn't put it back in her pocket. She put it in there, and there was a receipt. And I remember the first thing when she picked up the M&Ms, I remember focusing on the M&Ms. And as I was focusing on the M&Ms, I could see the guys on the line making the M&Ms. I could see the machines and the M&Ms and the color and the dye and the pools and how the peanuts go into the chocolate, et cetera. Like it was just instantaneous. I just knew just by focusing on it. Then, so it came up, got the receipt, et cetera, et cetera. She walks back. And so I knew she was coming back. And I was like, all right, if this is not a dream, then I know all of this stuff. Like I just knew everything that happened. So I went and ran to the front door, locked the front door, and put the chain on it so she could not come in. And I said, when she went to unlock the door, I said, hey, babe, I want you to wait right there for a second. I want to tell you something. She said, okay, all right. I mean, at first she was weirded out that I'd locked the door. She's like, well, let me in. I was like, yeah, but I want to do something when you just check it out. And I was like, you've got 2 bags. You've got 2 peanut M&Ms in a bag. You've got 2 packs of cigarettes. You spoke to Mr. Kim, some guy accosted, like I broke down the whole story. And she was crying. She was already crying at this point. She was like, how did you follow me? And I was like, no, not at all. Like when she realized I hadn't followed her. And then I said, but watch this. I could tell you every number that's on your receipt. And I read every single number that was on the receipt. And she was just absolutely dumbfounded. And so from that point on, she believed in everything, right? So that was my second out-of-body experience. And of course, everything was right. That she had 2 things of M&Ms. She'd been accosted. She saw Mr. Kim. The wife asked about me, et cetera, et cetera. You know, the next day I went in there. The guy gave me the whole display of snus because it just wasn't selling. He was like, oh, yeah, well, I watched you buy this once. And so it was just you know, I don't know what to say. I don't have a lot of out-of-body experience because I've never really tried to put anything into that. But that was my experience with my second out-of-body experience, and I didn't try to. But somebody was feeling like we had this connection with my girlfriend at the time. Never happened again. Not like that. And, you know, so I can literally sit here and say exactly what you just said happened. I've seen it happen. I've been in classes that teach remote viewing, or what's called remote scrying, where you can literally, it's like opening up a mirror into a place and you can just see into some other place. I've used, there's a stone called smoky quartz. I have meditated with smoky quartz. And so what I would do is get into a laying down position, put a piece of smoky quartz right here on your third eye, and you meditate. The meditation is that you let you feel the smoky quartz sinking into your head until it's in your pineal gland. And smoky quartz acts like an antenna, and you can listen to people's conversations. But the issue is you just don't know whose conversation you're listening to. So like I would just be sitting there, and it's like your attention is in a coffee table or in a table where people are having a conversation, like at dinner, like at somebody's dinner table, and people are talking. You hear them talking, you hear the conversation, but you don't have any context because you don't know who it is, why they're saying the things that they're saying. So it's just kind of like getting radio frequency from here and there. But the fact that that's a reality, I mean, you guys can think I'm schizophrenic or not if you want. You might think I'm crazy, but you all know I'm telling the truth. Like, I mean, because it is. Because hopefully you guys have experienced all similar things. I mean, you were telling me earlier. I don't know if I'm tell your story, but you were telling me, yeah, you were having out-of-body experiences as a kid. So my mother has a question. She says, I have a question. Someone on Facebook shared that we can talk to each other out of our body and ourselves and heal them. Is this possible? Has anyone ever done this? Is this a good topic for now? Well, it's not the topic of the show, but the person right above you, Mom, is a Reiki healer who offered say, hey, if you know anybody who needs Reiki healing, earlier to me today, just this morning. And you asked that question. I mean, I can't make this stuff up, man. This is true. Like, Kat, go ahead. Will you vouch for me on that, Kat? Because I was telling you about yoga. So Miss Yvonne's sister I was telling you about Yoga Alliance. Miss Yvonne's sister is the vice president of cross-cultural advancement at Yoga Alliance. What? I mean, I'm just saying, like, what's really going on here?
You guys off, but I'm
all right.
off. I gotta get up.
We love you, brother. Thanks for calling in, man.
All right, love you, Art.
Ciao.
All right, see you.
That was nice. Yeah, man. So I think this has been a good show. Like, I might take one more call. If anybody else has got a quick one or a good story, I'm gonna just put it up here and call in. There's the numbers. And if you've got a cat, come on. Oh yeah, the Quinky Dinks go on and on and on. Like, so I live in a perpetual synchronicity. Like, everything to me is a synchronicity. So like when you just become, like, when you just sink into it, just settle into it, like, I'm not looking for them anymore. I'm not blown away by them. Like, my man sees over here, I've got some shoes in this room over here. And like I wear Nike 270s, right? That's my birthday. I was born on the 270th day. Is that just a coincidence that the number one selling shoe in the world is a Nike or Nicky? That's my name. 270 Air. I'm an air sign. Like, can I just be reading into all this too much? Or is it a coincidence? Or is it a pattern? Or is it just my frequency and I'm attracting to myself?
Or is it all of the above?
Exactly. There you go. Exactly. Like, it's telling me it's in alignment with me. That's the way I look at it.
So one of the things that, like, while we're talking about all this stuff is,
come on, anybody want to call in and talk? Please do.
I'm thinking, like, one of the issues that I think we face is that, like, trying to define everything. You know, and put everything in its own little box
label on it,
and
right?
everything. Yeah, got to put a label on it, put it on its own little box, and give it limitations, right? When, like you said, like with time, we did that with time, but then to find out that time isn't really linear. So now it does not move from this end to that end. It's all over.
I think actually,
and it can do.
It does. I think it does for us. It does clearly, right?
Yeah, it depends, though, because it's not everybody.
I was going to go crazy if I looked down and it was 917.
Yeah, right? Like, what?
But see, it's funny that you put that in our psyche. So how often now are we going to see the number 917, which is only one digit off of my number, which is 927? Just saying.
Right. So
I don't know if you guys have noticed that my telephone number is 927.
Oh, snap.
That number was given to me.
What?
Or that both telephone numbers are 927. And both of those numbers were given to me randomly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, check that out.
I didn't ask for them. I did accept them, of course.
Yeah.
But if that's not like...
That's pretty cool.
Right. I'm just saying, like, it's a like, yeah. I could do this all day. I really could.
Yeah.
But it gets, it's... So I like to when we doing spiritual stuff, metaphysical stuff, I like, what's the practicality of it? How can I use this to better my life and not just be a magician? And when I say magician, I mean like an illusionist, not necessarily. Jasmine asks, "Is your birthday 9/27?" Yes, my birthday is 9/27. That is it. The 27th day, or excuse me, the 270th day of the year. Yep, exactly. And if you were to take a circle, draw a straight line through it, that's 90 degrees over 270 degrees, which is 9/27. Straight line. In a circle, that's a 1 and a 0. Just saying, like, don't make this stuff up, man. So we're talking about coincidence. Like, yeah, I could go off on an infinite pattern of coincidences that just go on and on and on about that number. Like, it's an amazing thing. Maybe one day I'll do a show about it, but I got to get people like who are really interested in that. Like, if you really want to go down the rabbit hole, if you really want to see what the Matrix is doing, if you really want to see instant materialization, if you want to see, all these things that I keep talking about, as if because they're real. I'm not making any of this stuff up. It's not in my head. Because very early on, I was like, I don't want to come across as crazy. I'm seeing this stuff. Yeah. I'm experiencing this stuff. I want to make sure that other people are seeing it too.
So you were talking about the practical application, right? You brought that up. Like, so how can I use this? Why? So yeah, now I'm seeing patterns. So what? Like, what can I do with it?
Well, you say so, but so first off, is the pattern that I just gave you, the 1 and the 0, is everything. That is time to begin with. Mm-hmm. So the very first time is when two people came together on a beach and said, "I enjoyed your company. I want to see you again. I want you to meet me here tomorrow." When would you know to meet them again? You could keep missing each other for an infinite amount of time, right? So when if you didn't have a clock, how could you tell somebody else to meet? What could you say to meet me at when?
At sundown.
Sundown. Okay, but sundown's different for you than it is for me, right? If I'm in a different place.
Well, if we're in the same place, how are we gonna meet? Like, we ain't gonna meet.
Right, but so you're saying when the sun goes down, but guess what? Maybe tomorrow. But here's the kicker: where the sundown went down today is not where it'll go down tomorrow. Because the sun going down.
So you're talking about where? I'm talking about when.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. The sun, it'll be a different time. So if I showed up at the same time as I did yesterday, so if I look at sunset today and look at the time tomorrow, it's not the same time. We'll miss each other.
Maybe.
No, it's not the same time, and it's gonna be a minute or two different tomorrow.
But
so if I showed up at that time,
be there.
Come on. Point is you need something more accurate, right?
Right.
I'm gonna show you. Literally, trust me, this all ties together.
Right.
So what's the only one time in the day that is accurate? That is the same time every day. There's only one time every day that's the same time everywhere.
What?
Noon. Noon. When the sun's the highest in the sky.
Highest in the sky.
Right. Because there's no shadow. Put a stick in the ground, there's no shadow. Right? Because the sun is... So it's the same for you as it is the same for me.
Right.
It's noon. So if you took a circle and drew a line through it, that's the first time. All time starts from that one time. It's a circle with a line through it. There's a reason that it's symbolic, that it matches it, because it's a truth. So it's a natural truth. It's in all things. Like you can't just, it's in mathematics. It's in language. It's in astronomy, right? It's in the way light works. It's the way that atoms work. So when something is intrinsically inherent in everything, we call that a truth. Mm-hmm. You can't divide that anymore. It's a line and a circle. It's a 1 and a 0. It's a dipset.
Dipset?
Hey. Right? So that's why I brought it down to saying, so then when you recognize that, so 927, I told you, is 333. It's when you divide a circle 3 times, right? Leaves you 333, 333, 333, right? So the straight line is, it gives you 180, right? And then you get 270 and you get 360, right? Those are your dividing numbers in a circle. So you get a circle with a line. That's the first light. So now you've got this is what breaks apart our time and gives us time. So this is how we process time. This is how we see time. So all other times are like we're out of phase with each other. Like we're all just coming and going unless we're meeting at a specific time, right? That's why we all got watches on our hands. That's why we're all looking at the clock, et cetera, is because it's like, here we are right now, but you're thinking about being somewhere else at another time.
Right. But the time is now.
Right. When you get there, it's still just going to be now. So really what you're doing is saying, I don't want to be here. You're looking for something like, how can this get better? That's what you're asking yourself.
Yeah.
So how can this get better? Yeah. But see, we don't get bold enough to answer the question and say how. So basically, when we see a time and we say, oh, 11:11. So 11:11 is actually it's a placeholder for one. It's a placeholder for a straight line. It's a placeholder for a straight line. It's a placeholder for a straight line, and it's a placeholder for a straight line. What it's saying is that's the maximum amount of now. Because listen, so when I brought up, when I didn't get there, but when I said when you divide a circle by 3 points, that shows you where and when, right? But so the last one is what we call latitude and longitude, it's the height, because you could be in the same spot up there or the same spot down there, right? So that's why you need 3 points to. So technically, you need 3 points. You need length, height, width to determine where somebody is.
Right.
Then you need the fourth is time to say when. That's why it's quantum hour when we talk about 1, 2, 3, length, height, width, where you're at, dimensions, third dimension. And then the fourth one is time. So it's a portal that's always in the same place at the same time, always.
Oh. So
that's why 11:11 is so important.
Practicality. What do we do with that portal?
Okay, well, you ever see 11:11?
No.
Do you ever see 11:11?
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
It's okay.
Well, so for some people it comes and goes. Like for me, I'm attuned to it. I can wake up on 11:11. I'm attuned to 11:10 now because I need a minute to get a meme up for 11. I call it the quantum rodeo. And what it is I put up I try to get a meme prepared that has something to do with 11:11 and post it before 11:11. And you got just enough. You only got 1 minute to do it. And to me, that's quantum rodeo. I enjoy that. But my point is one, you asked about, so when it's 11:11, what do we do with that? So first off, if it's a gate to meeting yourself. It's a gate to aligning to whatever you want. Because that technically it's what it is. It's the point in time where you can meet anything or any time. That's your choice. So that's why you want to hold positive energy, positive thoughts, or being somewhere that you want to be. So basically, what it does is in time. It's just a placeholder. Is all it is. Mm-hmm. It's a placeholder for being in alignment. Mm-hmm. And technically, that's what it is. Remember, it's 11:11 somewhere all the time. Right. So it's not. So technically, this is why but the thing is you're now in proximity to it. That's why And that means it's now in your frequency. Your frequency is changing. Like I'm the guy behind the microphone because I'm behind the microphone. That's part of my frequency. So when you're in the realm of 1111, it's affecting you and you're in alignment. And I love here Jasmine says, isn't tomorrow 111?
What?
Say, what's really going? Do you know that I started the show on 11/11, November 11th? Did 2 shows at 11/11 on 11/11. Yeah. You guys don't even know that I used to have another show called 11/11 Quantum Streams. What? Kara says you should go live tomorrow at 11. I would, except tomorrow's 111. So if I were to do it, it'd be 111 instead of 11/11. But anyway, the whole point is it's an alignment. It's a quantum alignment. Just like, I mean, you don't notice the 11. See, here's where I would be like, yo, look, there's an 11/11 right there. There's an 11 right there. I mean, if you're really looking for it, it's everywhere. Because again, like I said, it's all over the place, you know, and like some people are just like, well, you know, that's when you're overreaching things. It's like, yeah, but what tells us what an 11 is, you know? Kara says, well, you know what I mean. That's what I'm saying is exactly. But when I say that's 11/11, can I be like, you know what I mean, right? Like that's a 1. Don't you see the 1 right there? There's a 1 right there.
So. Like,
or is that too much?
I was thinking, you know, once you're in alignment, it's a good time to launch that rocket of desire, if you will, or for manifesting. Like, it's a good time to gather that and put it out there to the universe. Like,
well, you're in alignment.
Take the shot.
Perfect. It's so. The way synchronicities are, they're reminders. Right. They're a reminder that you're on your frequency, in your frequency. Right. So first off, our bodies are capable of keeping perfect time. You're oversleeping. It's because you're tired. It's not because your body doesn't know what time it is. It's because you need more rest. And you're out of an alignment. You're out of balance. That's why you're oversleeping. Right. I wake up, like I can wake up and tell you exactly what time it is without seeing a clock. Sometimes I can tell myself I need to get up at 6:55 tomorrow. I'll wake up at 6:54 because I know I need a minute to open my eyes first. Mm-hmm. It's just like, but we're capable. Our bodies are as powerful as a quantum clock. They can keep microscopic time. You just have to choose to tune into that. For some people, it's going to be easier than others. The cleaner you are, the cleaner food that you eat, the easier that becomes. The more you meditate and clear your mind, the easier that becomes. The more in touch you are with yourself, the easier that becomes. The more you exercise, the easier that becomes. The more you actually focus on your rest habits, the easier that becomes. The more you pay attention to the clock, the easier that becomes. The more you believe in what I'm saying, not just because I'm saying it, but the things that I pointed out, the easier it becomes. You know, like if you believe that, you know, numbers have meaning to you, or that you want to see certain specific times, or once you start recognizing patterns, that becomes your frequency, you're now in proximity to it. You now see more of it, you know? It's a simple thing, to pay attention to, but it can become overwhelming. So what happens is, it doesn't work well. Like, can you go to work? I remember going to work and pointing out synchronicity. Like everybody at my job, I've mentioned this one before, but everybody at my job is wearing blue that day. Like, we didn't send out a memo, and it wasn't a uniform. We just all choose to wear blue on the same day. And we all had khakis on and some other form of blue. And, you know, it was, right. But I pointed it out, and they was like, the fuck you talking about?
Yeah.
That's the third F-bomb I've dropped on the show today. Guess what, guys? I curse. I'm sorry. I'm not perfect.
Shame.
Right? All right, that's enough of that. All right. Every time I drop the F-bomb, I'm applaud for myself because I'll beat myself up over that. Like, man, why did I say the F word? Anyway, I'm an adult. You're an adult. If you're not, and you're you know, some people I have spiritual friends that are so, to them, that would bother them. And that's why I apologize for it. Like, it really is because, it's because they respect themselves. I respect myself too, but my belief system is different.
Bro, it's part of my vernacular. That's how I get.
It is, but I've been through the phase where I've stopped saying it and been okay not saying it, and okay, all right. But come on, I thought you were going to
beatboxing.
Oh, man. Listen, one of these days I'm gonna have a beatboxing contest, right?
Bro, I'll smoke you.
All right, that's all right. Bring all the smoke. All right, with it.
I got the beat. You got the bars.
Listen, all that happens is you got to go first. Because I am not stepping to the stage. So but ultimately is you got to be like, when you open up your third eye, when you open up your crown, when you're open to a lot of things, there's a right time and a right place. I mean, guess what? Just because you learn to tie your shoes today, when you go get on a train to go to work and you're telling everybody that you learned to tie your shoes and you ain't 4 years old, nobody cares. It's not the right place, not the right time. People have no interest in that.
True.
But when you're 4 and you just learn or 3 and you just learn how to tie your shoes and you go to your grandparents' house and everybody's excited about it. This is the right time and the right place.
Excited.
Right. So it's just like, if I go to a seminar that's about manifesting and co-creating, et cetera, and then I put my hand up and be like, yo, guess what? I had a synchronicity. It's not the right time and the right place, right? Because guess what? Everybody there too has had a synchronicity. But guess what? There's going to be some people who are on the same stage that you're at that are just experiencing it. And that's what this whole community Awaken Aware is. It doesn't matter where you're at on this journey, man. Like, I recognize not everybody's had an out-of-body experience or even believed that it was or even knew that it's possible to truly have an out-of-body experience. But I shared that with you. Guess what? Because and listen, I didn't freak out about it. Here I am. I enjoyed it and I let it go, right? My point of sharing my experience with you is that if you do come to something like that, you don't freak out about it. I told you that I had sleep paralysis. Guess what? I didn't freak out about it. It's happened a few times. I've had sleep paralysis where I was pretty sure there was a gray little alien behind me screwing with my back. That was kind of freaky, but I couldn't move. I couldn't do nothing about it. Guess what? I'm still sitting right here with you. So, it's not just so you're not scared, but it's like, I hope you find to say, okay, well, man, he's just like me. Like, he runs a business. He's doing stuff, but yet he's still talking about this stuff and he's not so far removed from reality that people don't want to talk to him. He's not going crazy yet. He's not,
not yet.
Not yet. Right. Exactly. Hey, listen, man, I'm going to be real honest with you guys. My father was schizophrenic. What does that mean? Does that mean it's in my blood? I'm going to tell you what it means. Listen, that was what he was diagnosed with, but I'm going to tell you right now, anybody ever calls you schizophrenic, they can't. Not even your doctor. I'm going to tell you why. There's only one way to actually absolutely diagnose schizophrenia, and that's if they cut your brain open in an autopsy. They have to autopsy your brain. So you can only be post-mortem diagnosed with schizophrenia. Did you know that? It's crazy. But there's all these doctors running around saying, oh, that person's... It's not true. It's not true at all. You can look that up. You don't have to believe me in it. Anyway, but my dad was definitely out there. My dad was super... You think I'm out there? I'm junior. Senior was something else, man. That guy could put on a light show with his fingers. It was crazy. Before there was filters. Yeah, I have to find some pictures. My dad was crazy. It was not crazy, but he was an amazing guy. He did some amazing things, and he impressed a lot of people. But he also weirded out a lot of people because he was so eccentric. He was like my dad was an artist. He was a sculptor, and he made some weird stuff, and so that's what I grew up with. Mom's a little. She's out there too. We're all out there. I come from a whole family of like, people have heard me say I'm the black sheep. I am not the black sheep of my family. We're all awake. We're all aware. We're all conscious, and have been practically my whole life. And so I was embraced. Nobody's ever shunned me, except for when I first woke up. The people that were around me, they didn't shun me, but they were like, "Do you need help? Is something the matter?" I was like, I'm living my best life. Things are coming at me. Like, I'm thinking about things and they're showing up. I'm speaking of things and they're showing up. I'm wishing well to people around me and well things are happening to them. I'm blessing people and blessings are pouring into their lives. I'm seeing patterns that didn't exist. I'm seeing patterns from the street signs, and the speed of my car. I'm seeing patterns in telephone numbers. I'm meeting people and our telephone numbers like match up. I'm meeting people who have the same birthday as me. I'm seeing people who wear the same color I do when I do. I'm seeing people who show up and have the same love for the same stuff that I do. Right? And so, we can all call that the law of attraction, et cetera, but there's some things that are already there. Like, where's the pull coming from? What's the pinnacle? Are you pulling it? Are you creating it? Or is it creating you? And is it pulling you? Right? So, those are the questions to ask ourselves is like, where are these patterns? Are we creating these patterns because we're observing them? The patterns, when you become aware of patterns, they start appearing. It's just like where your attention goes, energy flows. It's proven. It's science. That's not even metaphysics right now. That's science. That is absolute. We can prove that scientifically. That's how energy works. But what I want to know is, does it work for a duck? If you put a duck in a room, does it change?
No.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It actually doesn't. That's so funny.
No.
So that's right. We're like Esther Hicks says, we are at the leading edge of creation.
Right.
And like I said, when we're creating, we're actually observing at the same time. Same time. There's no delay.
Right.
And that's where the kookiness comes in. That's where the synchronous. That's your frequency, man. Look around you. Those number patterns, that's your frequency, right? Like, it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It just is an is thing. It is what it is thing. And you can use it to your advantage, just like anything else. It's information, right? But here's some things I don't recommend doing. You see a price tag on something that's really expensive and it happens to your birthday, and you say, oh, I should buy that because it's my birthday. That's not what that's saying.
Really?
You meet a girl who's nothing like you and you really can't stand her, but her birthday is the same as your birthday.
Oh, then that's good.
No.
Oh.
It can be, but it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, probably not.
Right? It's so there's a lot of things that people put a lot of weight into. Oh, I saw it's 11/11. It must be fate. It's not the case. It can be.
To me, it's like it's time to be aware.
Yeah, actually,
And
that's
that's
exactly what it is.
Just be aware.
Right.
Like,
pay attention to what's going on.
Right.
Like, be present. Ultimately, when synchronicities are happening, it's telling you to be present.
Right.
Because you're in the vibe for
Right.
like you to stay. And it doesn't necessarily mean you can't be better, but it's saying it's closer to where you want to be.
Right.
So it's 10:56. I think you know what? Better yet, I'm not going to start the show tomorrow 11:11. I'm going to end the show tonight at 11:11. How about that?
Oh.
So listen, those numbers are up there, and I see y'all on the show.
Somebody give a call.
Yeah, who's scared? I'm not scared. Jump in a conversation with us. I'll listen to you. I can shut up. Plus, you remember I got some good news. The podcast is now, I might have said this already, it's available on Apple. I'm excited that it's on Apple because Apple's like, that's where podcasts come from, man. Like, that's the mecca of podcasts. And guess what? It's not a given that they let you on their platform. Like, your show's got to have some substance to get on the Apple platform. You just can't be like Beatbox 101. you really you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I like how I put out the beatbox thing.
Right. Exactly. And you let it flow. So guess what? We're also on the Google we're on the Google Podcast Store, and we're on Spotify.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the trifecta. Exactly.
Good
So
stuff.
you can the Awaken Aware podcast is available. It's this show. So, but remember, so call in, man. Be on the podcast. Get your message out there. Be part of the universe. Help us out. Give us new perspective. It's all right if you don't want to, don't. But it's nice. We'd love to hear what you got to say. What input you have. What synchronicities do you have in your life? What patterns are showing up for you? Do you have any questions? I used to run a site called angelnumbers.com. That was me. I used to do this. So you guys know, some of you guys know, I'm a dabbling astrologer. I'm also a numerologist. Been playing with numbers for a very long time. I've actually seen patterns that mathematicians haven't seen, because I play with numbers sometimes. I just sit around and stare at them and how do they work diagonally and forward, and I can see numbers spatially. So like a grid. Most people see a grid and just see it two-dimensional. I can see it three-dimensionally. And I can play with numbers going in different directions and stuff. It's not because I'm smart. It's just because I play with my head.
Yeah. So here's a story from today.
Nice.
So we went out to eat for breakfast, right? And then afterwards we came back to my house and we were just talking. We were just rapping for a while. And I play guitar, and I just something moved me to grab my guitar. And that usually happens, like when I feel like there's an open conduit in the room, And so I just pick up my guitar and I'm just like playing some stuff that like I usually play, and then there's a pattern, there's a vibration, there's something that I recognize while Nick is talking, and I just let my fingers do the work, and I picked up on his vibration and I started playing what I felt from him. So it's just being aware in that moment that there is something being transmitted, and we talk about the law of vibration, and all of our senses are just us interpreting vibration, smell, touch, taste, feel.
Facts.
Right.
Facts. That's absolutely
right. So there's another vibration that's coming through when we're speaking, especially when you're an open conduit, like it just comes straight out. And so my interpretation, I put that into rhythm.
There's conscious intention even below our language.
Absolutely.
Entwined in our language.
Absolutely.
There's many things being said.
Yes. Micro expressions and whatnot.
Not on top of that.
Underneath
in addition, all of that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And so
color is frequency and vibration too.
Yes. Yes. So
technically, actually, got to tell you guys, there is no colors. It's not real. All right, we got somebody on the line here. Let's jump in. Good evening. Welcome to Awake and Aware. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking to?
Hello, Aware. It's Kara.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Wonderful, Kara. Glad you're joining us. What's really good? So I'm going to let Damian finish his story, and then you're going to jump in and tell us. It was
okay.
Yeah, I was pretty much done. It was just,
okay.
But I was just talking about. I just wanted to reference that vibrational.
It's 11:01
acuity.
On January 1st, so it's 1.
Oh my God!
What's really going on, man? Come on! Like I get excited about that, like because here we are talking about it, and it's happening.
You're so giddy.
I mean, in front of us, there's a big circle with a line through it. I'm just saying, like, with light.
It's
crazy.
It's everywhere.
Bro, look at my watch. 1110111101. Right?
Nice.
How beautiful is that? It's just with a butterfly behind it. By the way, just saying. Come on, it's the butterfly effect. Change it, bro. You can't make this stuff up, man. Like, it's here. It's clear, right?
It's great.
Okay. I mean, like, I look at your show.
Yeah, there's ones on my shoes.
It's one. Look, come on, one. It's crazy. They're right there.
Wow.
It's 11 on his shoes, man. It's crazy. So Kara, how are you?
I'm doing good. I actually have some input.
Kick
about
it. Spit.
The 11/11. So we used to see that. Me and my family used to see it all the time. We never really knew what it meant. And my pop-up had gotten sick, and he died at 11:11 in the morning.
Oh wow, love pop-up, and that what a auspicious time to transcend.
Yeah. So ever since like he passed away, every time we see that number, we're always like, oh, it's pop-up. Hey, pop-up. And for me, in my experience, I've always seen twos.
Mm-hmm.
And my family knows that, and I just never knew what it meant. I just knew it was like a favorite number of mine. I always seen it. And my grandmother passed away, and I think not too long after that, I went to Wawa and I got a receipt, and it was 2222. I was like, oh my God, that must be like a sign from my grandma. And also, I had my son on the 22nd. So
22nd of what?
Really mean a lot to me, especially when I see them like doubles or triples, you know.
Well, he was born the 22nd of what month? Your son?
What's that?
Kara, can you hear me?
Yeah, what did you say?
You said that your son was born on the 22nd. I asked what month?
Oh, March, 3/22.
3/22, 3/22. Gotcha.
I
Just
always
saying.
see
The
every
time
single day.
was 3/22.
I
And she
always
said
look at
that
the clock.
backwards.
It's crazy.
Well, when you said it, it was actually 3/22 backwards. It was because it was January 1st at 10 or at 11, so it was 1 it was 1/1/1/1/03. So that was 3/22 backwards as you said it. I'm just saying. Like, I'm not reading into that. That's just what it was on the screen.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly believe in being like all the alignment and everything like that with,
right.
With everything that happens in the universe. And
you sound just like, first off, I got to tell you, you sound just like your sister. So when you called in, I thought you were a sister for a minute. And it's funny, like, so, well, that's how I met your sister. Or actually, that's what connected us. Was she had a photo on her Facebook page that said 11/11. It was a picture of, it wasn't even a time. It was like 11/11 on a cork board or something like that. And there you are. And here we are having a discussion about 11/11. It's twice removed. It was like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. It's like 6 degrees of 11/11.
Yeah, my whole family's into that. You know, we always, like, we see that time. It's like, it means something maybe different to everybody, but for me, it's like.
So you feel something.
Oh yeah, totally, always. Yeah, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like when I see the 11/11, I feel like my grandfather's there. I'm like, hey, what's up? How are you? You know, I start talking to him.
Yeah, that is. I think that's like super special because we have the option to ignore those things and just to trudge on with our daily lives and just deal with what is right now and blah blah blah. But you've been blessed with a sign that like there's more. You know?
Facts.
And so I love the idea of you know, it's like a check-in. You know, you see 11/11, it's time to check in with my spiritual, you know, like where am I really? You know, because like it's like we're not always like plugged in, tapped in, tuned in, turned on, you know, and all that. We're not always in that spot. Like, you know, we got stuff to do and we get caught up in the rat race and like the everyday. And then like you see an 11/11 or a 2/22 or something like that, and it's like, oh yeah, this is not all that there is. You know, all this stuff that I must do. There's more.
Funny thing is, both my kids were supposed to be born on 3/22. That was both their birthdays. But I ended up having a C-section, had my daughter 4 days later on the 26th. 7 years apart.
Interesting. My grandmother's born on 11/11.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was 11/11. All the women in my family are my grandmother's 11/11, my mother's 11/30, and my other grandmother is 1/3. Oh, and the one who's 11/11, she was 11/11/33. No, excuse me, 11/11/30, and then the other is 1/3/33. So it's just ones and threes, all the women in my family. So it's kind of interesting. It's a pattern, right? Or am I just reading in?
Awesome.
So the thing is, it's a pattern if we make it a pattern. But remember that today's clinical psychologists will say, if you're reading into a pattern that's not there, that's what makes you crazy. That's one of the definitions of being schizophrenic. Right. So not that I'm claiming anybody's. I don't think anybody's schizophrenic. Or there are some people who are again, you can be diagnosed with it after they cut your brain open. But it's an actual. I don't want to say it's a defect, but it's a disposition that a person is that. It's not just because of their behavior. because clearly we're seeing patterns that are real. We're all waking up at certain specific times, or just happen to be looking at our watch at a specific time, right? Versus, and again, it may be, sometimes it may be the time to look at it and say, okay, but it's not the time itself that's important. It's what's going on with you.
Right. It's a good time to check in.
Yeah, exactly. Damon hit it on the head. I mean, like, that was perfect. It's like, it's the time to check in. I like that. Yeah. Spiritually, it's the time to check in. And that's why I try. So the best thing you can do is to work on yourself so you're there all the time. So when those alignments do happen, you're already there.
Right.
Because I don't know how many times, like, the universe will try me, and like my cab will fly by me at 11:10. So now I'm all pissed off and it's 11:11. But if I'm really doing the spiritual work, I'm like, that cab just wasn't for me. And I'm more in alignment with myself when it does turn 11:11 versus.
Right. Instead of having to hurry up and get ready.
Right. Because that's the first test that I noticed that happens once you come in alignment. So some people will find different things. Sometimes it's their birthday. Sometimes it's 111, 222, 3333, so on and so on. And then they get to the 11:11. Some people are waking up on the 11:11. So I'm hearing a lot of people now are that's the thing that's waking them up is 11:11.
I'm up way before 11:11.
No, I mean consciously waking up. But that's cool. I dig it. So it's 11:09. So I like to do this thing, and we haven't done it in a while on the show, but it's called the Perfect Feeling Thought. So we're going to close out the show at 11:11. But let's take a 1 minute and actually just search for our perfect feeling thought, whatever that is for you. There's no limitations. There's no limitations, meaning that you can have all the money in the world, or have any partner that you want, or be in any place for any length of time, or have any health that you want or desire. Let's just think for that and hold that until 11:11. Nice. Thank you. That was good. And so just want to share mine was that you all partook in that moment, because we took a silent moment on a podcast.
Risky business.
That's pretty good. So Kara, I want to thank you for calling in and joining us, and all the other callers. Have a wonderful night, Kara.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. And so I want to thank everybody that joined the show tonight and partook in the show. I want to thank my special guest here, Damian Barnes.
You're welcome.
And I look forward to you being on the show again. We're going to make this a semi-regular thing.
Yeah.
Damon travels quite a bit, and I like to we got good chemistry. We already know this, right?
Yeah, we're good.
So thanks for joining us. It's 11:11. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
I'm up. Peace, love, happiness.